Now, help me out, Blaster. Transform and play something nice.
And now, a nice and nifty musical selection for easy listening. Hold on to your dancing shoes and go, man, go!
One shall stand, one shall fall.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall, a Transformers TCG podcast broadcasting live from an underground bunker in the middle of the murky Midlands.
I want to boot some Decepticon right in his turbocharger.
Whoa. Calm down, Cliff Jumper. Wow. Seriously, put that gun down. You're going to kill somebody in this studio. Goodness. Right, anyway, I'm your host, Lee, from Bluetop Productions, and today I have a motley crew of people to talk everything about Transformers TCG. That's right, the trading card game based on the cartoon from the 80s. This podcast will talk about news about the Transformers, the TCG, new releases, deck profiles, and stuff that's happening in the community. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
One shall stand, one shall fall.
What's up, guys, and welcome to One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall, the one and only... That's right, Transformers TCG podcast on the airwaves. This is episode 26, and holy crack on a crackle, we have a set for you to review and overview and show off, because it's the Turbo Revving Old Punks set. And we are so excited in this cast to show off the cards and all the fun stuff with it. So I'm just going to set the scene so you guys know. Dave and me are currently sitting in front of a fire. We're in our fancy bathrobes with a glass of brandy in our hands, and we're just reminiscing on the good times we had, and we're sharing it all with you guys right now. So on this podcast is my amazing co-host, the man behind the Energon Hustlers, one of the main cogs of the Turbo Revving Old Punks, Dave Cook. How you doing, Dave?
What's up, bruvna?
You enjoying that pipe and that brandy over there?
Yeah,
enjoying it?
Got the older smoky pipe. Got my smoking jacket on as well.
I know, it's very nice.
My tweed slippers.
Two jacking it, I like it.
I'm very well, thanks, mate. I can't believe we're actually here. It's been 4 months since the initial kind of concepts were drafted, and it was what if we did make a couple of stratagems or something? What if we did? And then I don't know how we've ended up with 20 battle cards, 16 stratagems.
It just keeps evolving.
I know.
It just evolved.
And we said we weren't going to do characters, and lo and behold, we have a character.
We have a character. Not characters, but just one.
Just one for this set anyway. We've got one. We've got some more ideas. So we've called this set Phase 1, haven't we? And this is kind of in homage to IDW's Transformers comics. So yeah, Phase 1 is this set. We've already parked some cards that didn't quite make the cut because they weren't quite ready. We've got some new members of the Punks as well that have contributed some ideas, but they weren't in time to play test significantly enough to make the deal. So yeah, Phase 2 is probably going to be happening. When, we don't know, do we?
No, we honestly don't know. We don't want to give a time for when that is happening, but we can let you know kind of like secretly. Well, actually, it's on a podcast. It's no longer a secret now, is it?
It's really not.
Between phases, we want to stay relevant because we're quite big in the community. We love all you guys out there, and thank you for supporting this set. If you're going to, download it in the link below on YouTube or via, Podbean or whatever. But we are going to bring out characters in between phases that are kind of like promos that we're working on, that either have come out and Wizards didn't give them any justice, or completely new ones. The next one, I absolutely love, and it's it's a huge in joke. If you ever listen to our podcast, of a character that I can't quite understand. So I don't want to give away too much, but obviously if you're a regular listener, you know there's one character out there which I can't understand, and we're working on him now. And I know Rich, aka Nazumi, has like done a draft of him, and we're going to start play testing him soon, because that will be our next kind of baby step before phase 2. But he's got really cool mechanics. I absolutely love it. Super theme, obviously very theme with the comics. And, you know, like we said, well, Dave put it perfectly, we're calling them phases, because all of us who are in the punks, whether you're playtesting, a member, or, you know, one of the founding fathers, we all love the comics IDW were doing, even other older stuff, even the UK Marvel. You know, comics just go way back for us. And, yeah, I think calling them phases is, like, perfect. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that because, yeah, he's quite, he's a big boy.
And say it with me! Beefcake!
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 We love our beefcakes here, I'm not going to lie. Don't we, Dave? We like our big boys.
We do.
He is quite a big boy, just saying.
He is. We've still, like, there's so much, like, you know, is into the design process as well. So, yeah, we're going to periodically release stuff. I think we've got about 6 or 7 characters kind of like in the early design process that I've been bouncing ideas around with yourself, with Matafa, with Richard, some of the other guys as well. I've seen some of them. So phase 2 will happen. We just don't know exactly when, but to stay relevant in between, we will be dropping ever so often a really spicy character for use in casual play, because that's what the whole core of my ethos for the set was, and Lee's well behind this as well. It's got to be fun, and it's got to be theme. It's got to be on point for what we want to do. So we were hoping to bring something for your games tables at home. Veril, big shout out to you, sir, who does the Transformers mod for TTS, is going to be putting all the cards on there. I know I'm going to be chatting to Zero at Teleround 1, so you should hopefully be able to build decks with Turbo Revving cards in there as well. So there's a lot of people to thank. I've thanked most of them on our preview video, but you know, thanks to Veril and Zero, who will be doing some future work for us to get these sets in your hand, physical or a digital medium. So thanks, guys, for that. There's one more real thank you. He's been working like a trooper this week for us behind the scenes, and he has nailed it. Lee's only just seen the cards this evening, the finished product.
Oh, I cried. I was so amazed. I was like, these look legit. Like, I literally was like, holy cow. Like, obviously, I need to censor myself on this podcast because we don't want to try and swear too much. But like, holy shit, it was incredible. Like, it was a WWE moment when you got the crowds chanting, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. You know, like, it literally was incredible. Like, he's done a fantastic job. I'll let Dave talk. I'm just going to sit here and arse still because I'm like, these are so shiny.
He's done a fantastic job. You know, this is a big, massive thank you to Mike from the Arc, who kindly offered to help, along with Adam from Bayformers, who's provided a brand new font that is nigh on, spot on for the Wizards of the Coast cards. They look way better than we could have generated using MSC, the Magic Set Editor, which has got a Transformers add-on, but they're not quite as good as like the real deal. But Mike and Adam, thank you, especially Mike. You've devoted so much time to me, messaging you with tweaks, changes to pip colors, you know, just everything. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for all the work you have done for us in the last few weeks. It's been just amazing to see them brought to life.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, seriously, I can say, because I like to call them the forefathers. I know, speaking for myself and the other guys as well, like, who couldn't be on this cast, unfortunately, are 100% behind. Like, the wow factor on these are ridiculous. Like, super crisp, super legit. And I think when we were obviously testing these cards just before we get into the whole thing, the one thing that we wanted to do, obviously, was artwork. And it just pops on these cards, man. It just super pops, like, super sick, super nice. And it's kind of funny, like when you're looking for artwork, sometimes it can be very, that's always the contentious thing with something such as Transformers having the IP and stuff like that. But like, we're really happy with some of the card art that we've got, and going forward, it's going to be really more interesting. Like, our whole mythos is fun and theme. Like, that most of the guys here are filthy casuals. Like, we love this game, and sure, we love the competitive scene, and there's a place for that. But like we said in our preview video, as much as on this cast now, is this set is fun and theme, and that's pretty much what the Turbo Revving Old Punks is all about. Fun. And that's pretty much with a giant exclamation mark. Like, we want characters in the Transformers to feel like their counterparts, whether it be in the TV show, whether it be in the movies, whether it be in the comics. We want them to all play a little bit different and a little bit fun and theme.
Can agree more. It should be noted as well when we were designing these cards. So because we are casual players and me and Lee are gluttons for punishment, we do a lot of cross-play. So Turbo Revving Old Punks Phase 1 has been extensively play-tested alongside Arcwave 1 and Bayformers cards, because that's the mainstay of our group. There's a few of us will play ATP stuff, but we generally reserve them for more like competitive style games. And following on from our interview with Dan, like, the ATP cards aren't designed with cross-play in mind. So equally, we've not really play-tested them with them. I know you've chucked a few in some of your decks where you might have a to ATP character or a couple of battle cards, but really it's been play-tested to be a companion, a casual companion to Bayformers World Strike and Arcwave 1.
Yep.
And we've also been working with them, the guys at the Arcand. Bayformers are kindly given me a bit of a sneak peek into what's coming.
Yeah.
So we can balance these cards for future cross-play as well. So hopefully, we've all covered the bases, and when the next sets, the big sets come out from those two amazing groups, we're not going to like break the game by having some of our battle cards be really wonky.
Yeah.
And we've tried not to tread on each other's toes. If we know they're making a stratagem, there's a couple where we have cross-pollinated, but then you've got a choice as the players as to what stratagem you might want to use. So that's it, really. But I think we've rambled enough, haven't we?
Yeah, we're done with
rambling. Should we get into this?
I think we got to just like break it down. Like, we need to just get into it, because it isn't a monster, but it's super fun. The set is fun. We're just gonna babble, but I think, Dave, we need to just kick it. Okay, we need to just get it out of the way. We've teased her enough. Should we talk about Nightbird, the promo? So, like we said, with all our sets and phases, we're gonna do a promo character that comes out with it, because, like we say, we want to do characters, but also we don't want to just release characters and characters and characters. We want to have a consensus of, like, that character is very niche or wasn't done justice by Wizards. So, yeah, Nightbird. Dave, this is your baby, so I'll let you take over.
Yeah, well, here she is. So, a bit of background behind her. Like, we weren't going to do any characters, and then I've been flicking through for a lot of artwork, and I just come across this. It's like a panorama, not a panorama, but like a storyboard, four images of Nightbird. And it's from the Transformers Legends, I believe. So it's got that similar artwork look to the Wizards cards. So Lee can bring up the actual full artwork now for you, and then we're going to give you the cards in a sec.
Look at that. It's very
I just had an idea one night. It's like, Lee, you said we weren't going to do characters, but I've had this really, really cool idea for Nightbird. Because the promo one was okay, but she didn't really set the world on fire. And I wanted to do something different for her. And I want to make her true to what we saw in G1. So this is Nightbird, the Terracura Construct. She is a mercenary. She is a melee character. So she's only got one trait, she's melee. 4 attack, 11 health, 2 defense. She's got focus 1, and when this battles a melee enemy, do 1 damage to that enemy after the battle, and she costs 7 stars. But of note, she only has 1 mode. She don't transform. Because in G1, she didn't transform, did she, Lee?
No, she didn't. She definitely did not, and it's possibly one of the worst episodes I've ever seen in my life. Because obviously, making that trailer for you guys out there.
Nightbird! Nightbird!
What is a ninja?
I had to watch that episode and I realised that
It is quite bad.
there's a fair few episodes where, for this whole review and overview, where I've literally gone, oh yeah, that character's in that episode, and then watched it and gone like, I watched this as a kid. This has not aged well.
Some of the episodes really have, and there are some that have, but the Nightbird one particularly,
Yeah, the Nightbird one
didn't.
Oh, no, it's a rough one.
So she's called the Terracura Construct because in the story, sort of the wider story, I think it's from the comics, Megatron sets up a company called Terracura, and he actually makes a load of Nightbirds, but he makes them as maid robots. So they're designed to be clumsy and stuff, but they're really assassins and stuff like that. So that's where the name Terracura Construct comes from. She's been really fun to playtest. We've both you've been against her, haven't you, quite a lot, and I've been playing her quite a lot.
I built her in like we were talking about when we were playtesting most cards and stuff like that. I had her in a really fun all Merc deck with Snapdragon from ATP because he was melee, Nightbird melee, and I think there was another melee character I forget off the top of my head, but then I was also using Bayform as Merc stuff. I was cross-pollinating like a madman, and I built a little bit of a mini monster deck, and I was like, this is really cool because it's super themed, because it's all mercenaries, but by God, yeah, melee is a thing. Just saying, is all, guys. It is getting a lot of love.
She's really good. The one thing I wanted to make her was not strictly an aggro character or strictly a control character. I wanted to be able to fit into either shell. And when we come to the next part of the promo in a second, you'll see that she can fulfill different roles within that. So she's good I've tested her in orange decks, I've tested her in mixed pip, and I've tested her in a control kind of shell as well, so more defensive. That ping damage to melee is really, really good. And it's when she battles. So if they attack her with a melee character, she's going to chop them back for a sneaky damage. She's just cool. She's cool. There were, she went through fair few changes. She did have a bounty ability at one point, but we just dropped that for tightness. We felt the focus was more fitting of a ninja, and the melee ping damage felt a bit more appropriate for a hand-to-hand fighter like Nightbird. The bounty it was kind of tacked on because she was a mercenary, but it just didn't feel right. So if you're wondering why she ain't got, it's because it just didn't feel right, and she had a lot of abilities for a character that doesn't flip with only for only 7 stars, which is why she doesn't have a bounty ability.
100%. Now the funniest thing is when we made the trailer, we also kind of teased something because we haven't really had a character interact with a stratagem how we have created. So I'm gonna let Dave take control of this because this is what makes her, I think, incredibly cool and spicy, guys.
So, quite early in the design, I felt like she could do with something that makes her unique, because just having a transformer that doesn't transform just wasn't very exciting to me. So I wanted to do something that was a little bit different. So I was racking my brains, and we came up with the idea of doing a double-sided stratagem. And this is quite unique. Some groups like the double-sided, like Bayformers and ATP do, Arc only really have single-sided ones. So I wanted this particular one to be double-sided because it felt right. So while she doesn't transform, she's got 2 different protocols that she can follow as a character to change the way she plays from turn to turn. So it's a double-sided stratagem. The first side is called Assault Protocol. And it begins with Assault Protocol face up. And it reads, at the start of your turn, you may scrap a card from your hand. If you do, flip this. And then, when your Nightbird Terracura Construct attacks and doesn't have a weapon, she gets +1 attack until the end of battle. So kind of like she's that unarmed specialist. She can go in unarmed. She's just as deadly without a weapon as she is with. Obviously, you can still put a weapon on her, and then you can flip her to the other side of the stratagem. So it's gone through some changes, hasn't it, Lee? You know, it used to not have a cost to flip the stratagem, but we felt that was too good. What do you think, though? What's been your thoughts on this unique flippy stratagem?
I think it's really cool because it basically kind of imitates what people would be if they're actually in a fight. Like, I feel like, obviously, I don't know many ninjas, so it's kind of weird to say this, but it's kind of fun to have a defensive mode and an attack mode. And I feel like it's really cool that a unique character such as Nightbird have something like that. So as Dave stated, you know, you can go full on attack, and then obviously if you're going to attack with her right off the bat, you know you're probably going to get hit by the assault, but then in your following turn, you could then go to the evasion and then play a little bit like how Dave was saying how he built. Like, you could probably go down the brave route, or maybe just, you know, do some other fun shenanigans and make her last a little bit longer and do some fun stuff. It just builds up the character to have. I think the best way of describing it as well is kind of it's another game outside of the game, and also gives her another ability that doesn't overhaul on the card, which I think is really cool to have. And also, when you play stratagems as well, most of the time you just say, I'm playing this stratagem, and that's it, and then people read it, and you're like, oh, okay. But then with this one, it's like it's constantly flipping and stuff like that, and people will probably be like, what the heck does that do? That's different. And I think that's what we wanted. We wanted to do something different, and I think we really nailed it with this Nightbird, man. It's super cool. We might do something similar in the not too distant future with other characters, but it just felt right that a robot ninja could go from I'm going to punch your face off to then, oh no, I need to get out the way and dodge.
Exactly. So, you know, the flip side is, like Lee's alluded to, it's a more defensive side. It's called Evasion Protocol. And it has the same thing again. So it begins with the other side face up. Just to clarify which side you start with. And then at the start of the turn, start of your turn, you may scrap a card from your hand if you do flip this. So as far as I'm aware, I don't think there's any other flippy stratagems that can flip backwards and forwards like this in the fan community. So that's something I want to make unique for her. And it does feel unique. It makes her a little bit more interesting than just a robot that doesn't flip. So she's got that aspect. And also, you're choosing when to do it as well. So it's going to cost you a card out your hand. Potentially every start of your turn, you could flip her backwards and forwards if you wanted to. So you've got to kind of factor in that cost to making a switch protocol. And it's very similar. It's kind of like the polar opposite of the assault side, and that is when your Nightbird Terracura Construct defends and doesn't have an armor, she gets +1 defense until the end of battle. So I like it. I've really enjoyed playtesting her. I think she's really cool. She opens up some options at 7 stars, some teams that she can slide into where you can make use of like Opportune Offensive or Opportune Repairs, which are really good cards. But I don't think her Wizards iteration was well received enough because she was quite fragile with 0 defense in car mode. She had a really annoying ability, but she just got kicked off the board, really, didn't she? And I think this version is a little bit tougher.
Yeah, it is kind of cool because you can just take her at 7. You don't have to play the strat. Like, you can take her at 7, but if you play the strat, it's 8. And for 8 stars, she does a lot of diversity and a lot of cool different things, which I think is incredibly cool because I think, like we were talking to Dan in the previous episode, like 8, 9, 10-star characters are kind of a big chunk of your star cast, obviously, in the game. So you want them to do something that is either, you know, I'm going to punch something in the face, or I'm going to be a defender, or I'm going to be a utility kind of piece. And she kind of does all of it really, really well. So we wanted to basically, well, I think Dave really wanted to just hit the nail on the head. Like, she's a ninja. She should attack and she should defend. And she could be elusive and do loads of cool stuff. And, you know, I really like it because she punches you for 5 in, like, you know, assault protocols. And that's before you decide to, play any boost cards on her. So you don't, obviously, you want to avoid that weapon, but you don't mind putting a grenade launcher on her, guys.
Exactly.
Because who doesn't like a grenade launcher?
Exactly.
But obviously, with evasion, it's exactly the same, but with an armor. So, you know, there is a bit of a downfall. Like, you want to keep her alive, but then that extra armor, you know, that's cool. But then maybe you're pushing the route of maybe secret actions again. Something that, you know, play some of the elusive things that don't get played as much. So
who would do that?
I know, eh?
Who would play secret
secret actions? I know, eh?
Who would have thunk
it gives, I think also it really opens up a whole new element of deck building, which I think is really cool within the game because obviously when it comes to playing the game, you always have staples, but with Nightbird it kind of opens up, especially when you look at the Bayformers stuff with all the mercenary stuff in there and some of the fun cards in that as well. Like, it opens up a load of cool stuff. And then obviously with other sets like the Arc did a lot of cool stuff for Melee. Obviously ATP have done some really cool stuff as well for Melee as well. It's just really strong, and it's really cool to have give a character justice that I could definitely say Wizards kind of just went meh.
Yeah, there's a shiny promo. She's got a really interesting ability, but she'll just die because she's got 0 armor. And no one likes that tax of taking a damage when they play an action. So she was always a high priority target. But she's, it's different. That's a different version of Nightbird. That's after she's learnt the art of transformation.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a different version. So this is, for me, I want to do that pure G1 aesthetic, the pure G1 feels of the character. And I think, and I hope you agree, listeners, that we've kind of given her a card that's more in keeping with what she was originally. So that is Nightbird.
Yep.
And I think it's going to lead into, I think we're going to go with the stratagems first, aren't we? Because these were some of the first cards that were kind of brainstormed before we went into the battle cards. So should we do the stratagems, mate? I
feel like that's a perfect segue into them. So obviously, guys, with the Nightbird one, we have 16 stratagems in total. A lot of characters across the waves have been given a lot of love in this. There's been some looking at some of the characters. I could definitely say there's a few that are spicy. There's a few that you're like, oh gosh, it does that, because there's one in here I definitely know. I could say number 4 is phenomenal. I really like that, because when Dave immediately was like, I want to do a strat for this character, and then he played it against me, I was like, holy cow, that makes him playable and fun. Oh my god. And then immediately I was like, I want to go out and build that thing. And that was the whole point we wanted to do with this set. So do you want me to take the first one?
You go first, mate. When we were designing, my name's on a lot of the cards. I think I took sort of like the design lead early, didn't I? And I was farting out cards like left, right and centre. So phase 2, I'm going to be taking much more of a backseat because we've got some new members on board, and we'll introduce them as we come to. One of them has a new card in the set in phase 1. So like, a lot, you're going to see my name was on a lot of the cards, but that wasn't because I was taking over or anything. It's because I couldn't stop making them.
It was true. It was pretty much like, I've got this idea, I'm going to roll with it. That's exactly how Dave was, and it's awesome to have in that. So, number 1, guys, we're going to talk about All Hail Megatron.
The game is over, Megatron!
On the contrary, Optimus Prime, I still have a trump card to play.
That's right. This is a stratagem for General Megatron. This is obviously the Wave 3 Megatron. And the stratagem states, for 1 star, guys, your General Megatron has +1 attack, +2 health. So if we quickly bring up Megatron, in alt mode, that will take him to 6 attack, and then he's got a base health of 17. And then obviously when he flips to big boy bad mode in alt mode, he goes to 8 attack, and again, obviously 17 health across the board. This was designed by, obviously, Dave, as you can see in the bottom corner. I love playing General Megs. Obviously, very famously on my channel, Mondo made General Megatron quite scary and relevant at the Energon Open, or Invitational, or whatever you want to call it, in London. And obviously, Megatron has always been given a little bit of shade, should we say. He's always been in the shade and the shadow of Optimus Prime, because Optimus Prime seems to always have a really good card iteration, and Megatron always seemed to just be that little bit behind when Wizards made them. Like, everyone who I've talked to, whether they be in the community, whether they be part of teams of designers and whatever, all of them want to make a Megatron relevant or create a new Megatron and make them relevant.
Excellent! Now it's merely a matter of time until Optimus Prime admits defeat.
Obviously, with 1 stars, this takes you to a whopping 14-star Megatron. That is a beefcake and a half.
Beefcake!
I've played with this strat. I know Rich played a lot with it as well in our game test, trying to do our mirror matches with General Megs, and it makes him relevant again, because I think people kind of forget about General Megatron because there's so many Megatrons out there that are really good. But yeah, I absolutely love this strat. It's very simple. I think it's incredibly scary because when you go to... Obviously, with this guy, you want to flip back and forth between modes and do ping damage, which is scary. But how General Megatron normally works, how I play him, so a little bit of an insight, is obviously you take this stratagem, he goes to 8. Immediately, you're looking for attack drones. You put 3 of them on him, immediately kind of get them out as quickly as possible. He goes to 11 base without any additional attacks. That's kind of scary. And then obviously with his alt mode, you can flip and do damage equal to the number of weapons on the battlefield. So that's 3 just from you and however you've built your team. And if they've got weapons, by gosh, it can get quite scary. I love him. I absolutely love Megatron. And I think we've done him a little bit of justice because we want him to be on par with some of the heavy hitters that are in this game. So Dave, your thoughts?
Yeah, General Megatron, I bought 4 boosters when I first started playing. I bought one of the starter decks, and I bought 4 packs of Siege 1. In those 4 packs was General Megs, and I was like, oh, yay, amazing. And I started playing, and I was like, why is he not as good as Optimus Prime? Like, we all know that Wizards obviously biased the Autobots early on in the game. But I was like, why is he not quite as good? So it's always bugged me. And then we had Galaxy Prime with his 21 health for 15 stars. I was like, yeah, General Megs just isn't quite there. And we haven't had an 8-tack Megatron, have we?
No.
So I wanted to do something. You know, we did try some other abilities, but they just didn't feel right. And generally, what I wanted from Megatron was an 8-attack counterpart to Optimus Prime, like Battlefield Legend, Galaxy Prime, a Megatron that could hit as hard as they do. Because his gun's powered by a black hole. It's like, you know, why is he not very good? And like you say, you can build the deck around him. You can build it with the attack drones and all the extra weapons and stuff and get that real value. I've been testing him with one of the battle cards in this set, so I haven't gone the attack drone route. I've gone way more of just like, I'm going to make Megatron just... really so
horrible.
Just really horrible, and my flips don't have to be Megatron every turn. I can do something else, and I can just get him tooled up and then ping damage at the start of each turn. He is 14 stars, so you don't have a lot much else to play with, but at 14 you can get Demolisher and say Brawl from the Arc or Bomb Shock from the Arc. You know, you've got options there if you want to go aggro, if you want to go more control route. And he is scary in control because I've still been playing it. You know, if you're playing with Obsidian plating from the Arcwave 1 and Tetronite micro lining from Bayformers, you can build a really solid Megatron control deck, and he is walloping for like 8 minimum every time he attacks. It's really good. I love it. Obviously biased slightly, but you know, I don't think it's particularly overpowering. It just brings him up to somewhere between, say, Battlefield Legend power and Galaxy Prime. Is kind of sitting somewhere in the middle. You know, Battlefield Legends' ability is amazing. You know, when he attacks and flips cards, you can play an action that he flips. So, like, he's not quite as good as Battlefield Legends, so, you know, but he's good. And I think it gives him a bit of table time, which is what I wanted.
100%. I've loved playing Control with him, with my lovely Shade Boy, also known as Aimless. So yeah, I love the control route with him, and you know, it's like Dave said already. Like, you're not gonna complain when you see a Megatron just going, yeah, my base is 8 attack. You're kind of like, oh yeah, you're supposed to be feared and scary, aren't you? So, just feels right. It just feels right.
Definitely.
Okay, Dave. Moving on to number 2 of our stratagems. I believe we've spoilt this one, but it's a very exciting one.
It is. It's been spotlight. I've been releasing spoilers, so for those listeners that are listening to this on the day of release, we've recently made the Turbo Revving Old Punks Facebook group public, so please come and join us, come and chat. Our Discord is also open to the public now as well, so you know, I'll give Lee some links to put in the description. Come and join us, come and hang out. Particularly from the UK and you're looking for someone to play, because the UK scene has struggled.
Yeah.
You know, come and join us. But yeah, this card was spoiled this week on there, and it hasn't hasn't really changed, but we designed it as a character that really did need some support, and it's quite ironic that it's actually called Artillery Support, and it's for Warpath, the Confident Sharpshooter. Yes, that wave 2 rare that had 6 health, and he was a tank.
Wham! Bang! Warpath's on the roll!
So it was laughable, his health total, particularly when they designed the Black Pip and just meant, oh, well, he's never going to get played at all then, is he? So the stratagem is 1 stars. And it reads, your Warpath Confidence Sharpshooter has +1 attack and +4 health. +4 health. And when your Warpath Confident Sharpshooter defends in alt mode, reduce the attacker's pierce total by 2. Because he's a tank.
He's a tank.
He's a tank.
Guys.
It was designed by me again. It's one of the earlier ones I designed, but I feel that it addresses some of the problems that he had, and that was horrific health pool. He had really good he had a really good armor, didn't he?
He was. It was kind of reversed as well, because obviously in alt mode it was 2, but in bot mode it was 3. So it was reversed, and we were like, that's very different.
And it's just really to help him not just get yeeted off the battlefield on you. So if you're going second and they are playing aggro, and this guy, well, I'm just going to go and kill Warpath because he's easy. He's easy meat for me because I'm orange, black, bold. I'll just fart out a load of orange and black pips and he's dead. And you're like, well, that was 6 stars well spent. This way, it's 7 stars and he's got 10 health. And he hits a little bit harder as well.
Yeah, he goes 5 in alt mode and 3 in bot mode.
But that 3, he's got Pierce, is it Pierce 4?
Well, he's got a built-in Pierce 2.
Pierce 2. So yeah, he goes up to 3 Pierce 2, and then, like you say, he goes up to 5 attacking tank mode because he's a tank.
Because he's a tank. That's all we've got to say. He's a tank.
He's a tank. And again, it kind of like, you know, if you want to go that sort of mixed team route, you can start looking at General Megatron again. And Warpath, like, you know, like, can we use these together?
Maybe. It's blasphemous for some people, but you could.
You could. It is blasphemy for some people, but you really could. I really like it. What do you think about this, mate?
I think it's phenomenal. And the one thing I know going into phase 2 is I want to do some Warpath kind of themed cards, because I've played this and I've realized, wow, if only he had that much health, he would probably be way more relevant. Because obviously what Dave has mentioned is he has 6 health. And most of the time, you would flip him to bot mode, where it basically says, enemies can't use tough. But what was my favourite card until Sturdy Javelin, Dave?
Oh, Marksmanship.
Marksmanship. And Marksmanship said, do 2 damage to someone in bot mode. If you brainstormed and had the dream turn, you could kill him in turn 1. Yeah. It's horrible. It was absolutely horrible. But obviously with 10 health, it makes it more relevant. And I think that's the one thing with a lot of our strats, you'll realise we've either increased a little bit their health or their attack because of where the game finished. The power curve was obviously incredible. And we wanted to bring a little bit of justice to some of the characters. And obviously, we want you guys to go back in your binders and go, oh yeah, that guy. Oh yeah, that guy. Oh yeah, let's go play with him. Because I can tell you for a fact, I bloody love Warpath. Warpath's such a cool character.
I'm glad I'm going on the mission. Blam! I want another crack at him. Kazowie!
The artwork's phenomenal. Why did you do him dirty, Wizards? We'll never know.
I think they just put a higher premium on defense totals back then, didn't they? Because Pierce, like, there was Pierce, but you didn't have black pips. So, like, he was probably very good. Like, and probably fair when there was no black pip. But, like, as soon as you start, like, just piercing every, you know, attack for 7, pierce 7, you're like, oh, he's dead then, isn't he? So I think, like, the design of some of the earlier characters, particularly the tanks, you look at Demolisher, you look at Darkmount, Warpath, they put a real high price, like almost like a health tax on that high defense, when it ended up being completely irrelevant at the end of where they left it. So I think that's why they did him dirty. I think they probably didn't think they were doing him the dirty back then, but it actually ended up being a very, very poor card. And like you say he's languished in the binders of probably everyone in the world. Just not being played. So hopefully, guys, you want to put Warpath on the battlefield. You know, the card was nearly called something else, but it would have conflicted with another fan-made card from Wave X. We were going to call it Kablam, which was we have a new member of the Turbo Revving Old Punks. He's joined us about 6 weeks ago, and that's Ozzy, all the way from Australia. He has joined the Punks, and he designed an almost identical stratagem independent of me, and it was called Kablam. And we nearly called it Kablam, and then someone's like, you do know that Wave X have the same card? It was like, well, the same name. So we're like, yeah, we won't do that. So that's why it's called Artillery Support. But yeah, I think Warpath needs a new, not just a stratagem, but a new version of Warpath needs to be made. You never know.
You never know.
We might have a stab.
Yeah.
We might have a stab.
You never know. So,
Stratagem 3.
Stratagem 3. We're going into Covert, which is for private sideswipe, infantry, soldier.
Permission to speak freely?
Yes, Sideswipe.
You want us to hunt down an ancient artifact based on information sent from Magnus, who is currently under Decepticon control.
At best, it could be a distraction. At worst, it's a trap.
It's a trap!
It is a stratagem. It's 1 star. It was designed by a good friend and forefather, Matthew, aka Matifer. And it says, your private sideswipe infantry soldier has stealth and +2 health. Now, if you're like me, can you even remember this sideswipe, Dave? That sounds really rude, but it's true. Can you even
Vaguely,
remember how he was?
It's like when he flips back to alt mode, he gets some plus attack equals the number of like characters in your KO area, and I think, or is it like do you know what? Bring up the card and tell everyone what he does.
So guys, this is what he does. If you can't even remember, pause this podcast and go get the card and we can read it together. Okay, so in alt mode, guys, he has 2 attack, 11 health, and 1 armor. So obviously, with the increase of 2 health, he's going to be base 13. He's 8 stars, and in alt mode, he says, when you flip to this mode, this gets +2 attack until the end of turn for each character in your KO area. So Dave did remember a little bit, guys. I'm just saying is all. He did
a little bit.
And he has stealth, so remember that. So he has stealth in this mode. Then you can flip him to bot mode, and then he goes, when one of your other characters is KO'd during your opponent's turn, untap this. So there is some untapped shenanigans corners, and he also, again, has stealth. So it keeps him alive. Obviously, he's melee in bot mode, and he's a car and melee in alt mode. Overall, he's 8 stars. With this stratagem, he goes to 9. Obviously, if you know Matifer, he loves cars. His boys are Sideswipe and Sunstreaker, so it only had to be muttered, do you want to do something? Immediately, he jumped on private Sideswipe. Enough said. That's exactly what he wanted to do, and this is a bit tasty. It made me want to go back and play him a little bit, so hopefully it makes you want to go back and play him, because you wanted to run him with weaponizers and loads of fun stuff. And, with the extra cards from the fan-made sets now, he might be relevant. And he's a car. So you never know, guys. He's a car. Let's just throw that out there. He is a car. So, Dave, your thoughts on Matifer's stratagem?
Yeah, well, thanks, Matt, for designing it. It's a guest stratagem. So Matt's got a few cards, and like a handful of cards. I think it's 4 in total, and this is one of them. And like, obviously, it's Matifer. He's going to make a cars card. So here it is. I think definitely, yeah. His biggest weakness prior to this stratagem was he just got killed. Like Warpath, like the card we were talking about previously. He just died. So you were never really able to make use of that really cool flip ability back to card. Flipping back and say you're playing a 4-wide team and you've got the other 3 dead. Getting +6 attack in shabby. If you can go like look at some Titan Masters and stuff like that, dare I say it, because I hate them, but some of the cheap bodies with like a 1-star heads and stuff like that, you can get quite a few bodies in your KO area. The Horde characters from Arc Wave 1, like the Sharkticons, it's all like stuff. And again, he's a car, so you can go sports car patrol. Lots and lots of different options, and it just made him relevant. Obviously, you can just switch it off. You just play Spy Satellite Uplink if you know that your mate loves Covert Sideswipe. There are answers to it. So it's not like we've broken him. We've just given him a fighting chance to actually make use of his characters. He's rather than just being rubbish.
And it fits theme because he is very stealthy, which always makes me laugh because he's a bright red Lamborghini. Like,
I know.
He's somehow stealth. You'll hear him coming up from a mile off somehow, but he's stealth. But yes,
Yeah, I don't think some of the characters that have stealth in the game, it doesn't quite make sense, but they have stealth, and that's but it's just a really good ability, and I think it's nice that not just us but other fan sets are really starting to make use of stealth and brave, because they're two, I think, underused abilities. So yeah, Covert,
absolutely.
Go and get him out. Get him out. He was like a back of the binder challenge many moons ago.
On the Facebook group.
Bring him out of the binders and see what you can do with
maybe,
Covert.
Maybe on a live stream coming to you guys soon, we've already suggested that we were going to play certain stratagems and try and build different teams and have a showdown on the live stream. So maybe we just have to have a covert combat or something like that. Like, we always have to have alliteration with them as well, which is quite funny. I know Slagfest is on, or is it Slugfest or Slagfest? I forget.
Slagfest. One of the two.
One of the two is going to be one for sure. But yeah, hopefully this guy definitely comes back outside of the binders, guys, for you, because, he is a beloved character. He is Sideswipe.
Yeah, definitely. Sideswipe definitely deserved better than what Wizards gave him. And I know Matafor has done Arc Sideswipe, who is amazing. Mm-hmm. Like one of my favourite cards from that set. And yeah, just nice to see a bit of love given to the lackluster incarnation. And moving on to the next one is also a really lackluster character who was a bit rubbish.
He was, but I think this is one of my favourite stratagems, other than obviously one that I designed in the set. I love this stratagem because I obviously went against it multiple times while Dave was playtesting. I was like, that is super cool and fun. I love it. I absolutely love this one.
I think, again, it's giving you an excuse to get him out of the binder. This was also spoiled on the Facebook group this week, at time of recording. And this one's called Durable Decepticon. And it's for Raider Skytread Special Ops Soldier from Wave 4. Kind of like the precursor to the dreaded Sky Shadow. But this was the rubbish way that Wizards tried to implement it, and then Sky Shadow went completely the other way. So this is a 1-star stratagem, so I believe that puts him and his components up to 13 stars.
That is correct.
So a sizable chunk of your list. It used to be a double-sided stratagem, but I was talked into just making it one-sided because it's way less clunky on the battlefield. So whilst we've got 2 double-sideds, we cut this down to 1 single-sided. And the first line of text is, your Skytread plane Special Ops Soldier has +1 defense. The plane had 0 defense originally.
Yeah, so that goes to 1, which is relevant.
Yeah, it gives it a fighting chance. And this is the cool part. This is... we played around with different numbers and ways of doing things with this, but this is where it's ended up. And it's when you combine into Raider Skytread Special Ops Soldier, for each card placed under him, you may repair 1 damage from him up to a maximum of 5 damage. So if he's kicked off the board early, you're gonna get, you've got hand cards. You're gonna get, because that's the big thing with Skytread. Losing your entire hand was awful. It just felt bad, didn't it? You'd be like, you've killed him, and now I have no cards. And you're going to kill him before he can really start getting my cards back and moving the damage across. So you had a really cool ability of damage movement, but it just was, it'd be like, because what's the tank was 8 health and the plane was 10?
Yeah, that is correct.
God, I've got a good memory.
You have.
This late hour of the day. So yeah, but if they killed the plane, for example, you were 8 health left, he was going to die.
He was gonna die.
He was gonna die. And then you've lost your entire hand. So everyone, rightly so, was like, do you know what, Skytread? Into the binder you go. You're a naughty boy. You're not coming out. And I think with this, there is still a significant drawback, but his actual raw stats of what? Is it 6, 18, 3?
Mate, Dave is on it.
I haven't even got the cards in front. Literally, this is my... I've been looking at so many cards today as well.
He's on it, Bruvner.
You're on it, the Bruvner is on it. The Bruvner is on it, bruv.
Bruvner is on it.
So yeah, he's got really good raw stats, but losing your hand always felt terrible. And we tried doing things maybe not discarding as many cards or whatever. And it didn't feel right. The intent behind the card is there has got to be a sacrifice to getting a pretty hefty body for 12 stars. With this obviously getting 13, but that repairing 5 means when you combine, you combine on a reasonable health total and have a fighting chance just to get your cards and your ping damage back, or your damage movement back across. What do you think, mate? Obviously, you said you like it, so...
I love this. The funniest thing is, this is how our friendship started on a deck tech challenge using Skytread. This is how it all came, and it's kind of come full circle. So there is a bit of nostalgia to this character for both of us.
Let's go!
It was kind of those characters where we're just like, Skytread, that's a really cool idea. And then you read it and you're like, that seems really cool. And then you kept reading a little bit more and go like, that's
terrible.
That's really, really savage. But then also that comes down to you remembering what cards you had in there. So it was quite funny, like playing him for a while. I had to have a notebook and go like, write this down, then turn it face down so my opponent doesn't know. Because obviously when you get a card, you don't know what it could be because you take one at random. You can't just look at your whole thing and go like, I would definitely use this at this point. But obviously with the information you already have, or if you've got a great memory, which I don't have, you'll obviously know what's under there, and you can pull out the good stuff, hopefully, with your random pulls. He is going to be 12 on his own, but if you take this stratagem, which is incredible, guys, it takes him to 13, because I've had games where I've tried to punt at least the tank or the plane off the board, and then as soon as they've gone to the KO area, Dave's kind of just gone, okay, cool, I combine, cool, I've got this many cards in hand, cool, I'll repair 5. Wow, look at that. I'm back to pretty much 13 health, and you're like, sorry, what? You've only taken 5 damage? What? No, that can't. It's kind of like, why? But it is fun, because also, again, like our whole set is, guys, it's fun and theme, and Skytread is a fun character to play. You need to just try him out, and I think this stratagem, it makes him sing so well.
Yeah, definitely. And this was co-designed between me and Rogue247, aka my good mate Jared, who I've become good friends through the Blues on Attack server, and he was actually part of the impetus for making the set and like the birth of it, as it were, because his exact words were, "How can we Skytread?"
That just sounds
how
typical Jared,
can we do that? And I was like, right, okay, let's have a brainstorm. And he's co-designed 3 stratagems, I believe, with me in the set, and they all were started in that way. How can we I'll say it in a nicer way. How can we unpoop this character?
Yes.
How can we unpoop this character? They were Jared's exact words. I'm quoting them verbatim. He was like, how can we character? And yes, I think whilst you're never gonna put Skytread into a tournament, no. But if you're like me, and I like making use of my entire collection of cards, like at least get him on the table and have a bit of fun with him, because he's quite fun. Like it's all a bit random and stuff. Whether you lose your cards and get back at random, but like it's fun, and I've enjoyed playing with this. And I know that a couple of people that were involved in the playtesting process were very pleased when they heard that this had made the final cut.
Yeah, there was a bit of a scream of joy. Let's just say a couple of cheers.
Indeed. So Stratagem 5 is another one designed by me and Rogue. What is it, Lee?
It is fully loaded, and it is for Captain Astrotrain Space Force Transport.
I declare this to be Astrotrain headquarters.
That's it! I'm retiring! Now! Run! Help! Run for your life!
So who needs you spineless plasm heads anyway?
Stratagem is 1 star, and it states, when your Captain Astrotrain Space Force Transport, that's a name and a half, guys, just saying, flips to another mode, scrap the top card of your deck. If it's an upgrade, you may play it on him. Obviously, when we get to the character, you want upgrades on this guy. Trust me. The second paragraph kind of states, your Captain Astrotrain Space Force Transport gets +1 health for each upgrade he has equipped, up to a maximum of 3. So, he has temporary health with this stratagem, which is phenomenal, guys. If you think about it, it is pretty rude. So looking at Captain Astrotrain. I'm just going to call him Astrotrain because that name is just horrifically hilarious to put it. He's already 12 stars, guys. With his stratagem, he goes to 13. Obviously, he's a triple changer, so when you go from, like, we just take a quick look at his spaceship and his train mode. His spaceship mode, obviously, is when this has 1 upgrade on him and he defends, he gets +1 attack. So, obviously, if you're using his ability, obviously, when you flip to another mode and you get an upgrade, you can put it on him. Fantastic. That helps out that mode. When you flip into train mode, if you have 2 upgrades on him, obviously he gets +2 attack in the train mode, which I thought was really cool. Like, this train's going to run and hunt you down, which is incredible. Obviously, that works really well with the stratagem with the flips and stuff. But the kicker, the one thing that we all loved about Captain Astrotrain was how heavy this mother trucker can hit. Like, seriously. When he has at least 3 upgrades and he battles, he gets +3 attack and +3 defense. So when he just battles, guys, so that's also with defending and attacking, I believe, right, Dave?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you have this correctly, he is a 9-4 in bot mode. That's kind of scary. But the best thing about it was, well, the one thing that scared a lot of people was, okay, he's got 14 health and he's going to be 12 stars. With this stratagem, obviously, his health will constantly keep going up and down depending on how many upgrades you have on him. So he's kind of got like a built-in health help with this stratagem, which is great, on top of possibly other cards you might play, which gives him even more health. And if you think about it, Astrotrain is a ginormous guy. Because if you've seen him in any of the comics or even any of the shows, he is a tall guy. Like, Megatron is tall, Astrotrain is taller. And that always kind of blew my mind because I always thought Megatron was the tallest. When Astrotrain rocked up, I was like, holy cow, who the heck is this guy? He is a giant. And obviously, everyone loves the toys. It's a guy who casually walks around with a minigun in it for a weapon. Like, come on. I'm a sucker for a minigun. I love a good minigun. But I love Fully Loaded. It's super cool. I'll let Dave take a little bit of the reins now because this is his baby. So Dave, Fully Loaded.
Yeah, me and Jared again were like, how can we unpoop this character? And his biggest weakness is always upgrade removal. Wrecked him. And it's very hard sometimes to get up to the desired amount of upgrades quickly. So like, how can we accelerate him? How can we accelerate him without making him stupid? So this card from Wave 2 called Scrounge, which is, when you play it, reveal the top card of your deck. If there's an upgrade, you may play it. So like, why don't we give him like a Scrounge ability? It originally was like a little bit better than this, but it was too strong. Particularly with Decepticons and Overwhelming Advantage, it was too consistent, so we had to tame it down. So I think we've kind of hit a happy medium of making a character that you're paying like more than half your stars when you add this stratagem in, relevant to your team and not being just a bit like, oh, they've blown up my toys, I'm rubbish now. Like, yes, he still needs those toys, but when he's got them and he can get them quicker, you can be swinging out the gates quicker. There is the potential to get a crazy overwhelming advantage early, but you have to be incredibly lucky. And if you're going to put that much work into manipulating your deck that way, then kudos to you. It's not kind of the intent behind the design was to make him an overwhelming advantage monster. It can be done though, but I played an overwhelming advantage shell in testing, and I think I got a rapid one, like a quick one, once or twice in quite a significant number of games. So yeah, that's how that part of the card was born. And the next part, we basically, I'm going to hold my hand up, we stole it from Matafa's Skybite.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, that's a really cool ability. What if we gave that to Astrotrain and he, like, the more upgrades he gets, the harder he is? Yeah, let's do that. And it's stuck pretty much throughout the entire playtest procedure. He has had that. So yeah, I really like it. Jared really likes it. Jared did a lot of playtesting early. He's kind of not been able to participate as much playtesting. He's been finishing uni and stuff like that, doing his final pieces and all that. So he's not been able to take as much an active hand. But in the early days, he definitely was the impetus unpoop Astrotrain, as it were. So there you go, fully loaded. Get that common bad boy out because it makes him so much better. There was no reason to put conversion engine on Astrotrain before, was there, Lee? There was no point.
Oh no. This is really interesting with this character because obviously you can go the overwhelming advantage route. Don't get me wrong, that seems really powerful and strong with him. But like Dave just stated there, like you can go so many different routes with this guy. Like there's so much fun stuff with this guy that, you know, I think people have kind of forgotten because obviously, you know, he was a big costing boy. He is a beefcake.
And say it with me, beefcake!
Some people don't like their beefcake. I don't know why you don't like beefcakes. We love them on this channel and our podcast. But it just makes a really well-known character come back to the forefront. And like we said, some people might not even try and play with our set, which is completely fair. But holy cow, it makes me want to go back and play Astrotrain right away because I know Dave and Jared were playtesting this a lot. I didn't even look at this bad boy as much because I was like, as soon as it got to, Lee, you need to make cards for the set, I was like, oh, you've done an Astrotrain one. They're like, yeah, locked and loaded. That's done. We're sorted. And it wasn't called locked and loaded. It's called fully loaded, obviously. But they were like, yeah, that one's done. That is a guarantee like fixer. We just need to tweak it. And I was like, cool. I've got to look at other cards then. Let's just keep going through the binder and obviously, my love will be shown a little bit later on.
Definitely will be because the stratagem you have made is very, very cool. And it is cool. But the next one is also a fan favourite, isn't it?
Come on, man. Everyone loves this guy. Everyone loves the Jeep. Everyone loves this guy.
Everyone loves the Jeep, and he was in episode 1 of G1. He goes out with Cliffjumper, and he's been doing kind of all shenanigans with his holograms for the entirety of G1, and that was Sergeant Hound Infantry Recon, and we've given him a stratagem called Holomatter Mastery.
Spike here wants to know how we transform, Hound.
Easy, like this.
Incredible.
Now watch this.
Who's he?
Nobody. He doesn't really exist, Spike. It's a hologram.
He makes an airport in one episode, guys. I think that's like in the 3rd or 2nd episode. He makes an airport. Just appear out of nowhere. What?
Absolutely. So he definitely deserves that title of Holomatter Mastery. I think both iterations of Hound that Wizards gave us were not very good. Like, they were okay. They were okay.
You've just turned this one up to like 17, though.
Yeah.
Just saying this all, guys.
This one, Sergeant Hound is really good as a common character. So this stratagem reads, your Sergeant Hound Infantry Recon has +1 health. Again, I didn't feel like his health total was on par with other characters of the same star cost. And particularly when you're paying, was it 10 stars with a stratagem, I think he needed like a little bit of help, not too much, but just a little bit. But this is the cool, and for me, again, this goes back to fun and theme for the set.
100%.
Before the game begins, you may reveal a Holomatter projector from your deck and put it into your hand. So that is a theme because he is the master of holograms. Holomatter projector obviously wasn't around when they made Sergeant Hound. It was released in Wave 5, and it's become a pivotal card in and out of competitive play. It's a very, very strong card in general. So it's like, well, in Wave 3, they gave like Wheeljack and some of the other characters the ability. Ratchet was another one, wasn't it? You can go and search your deck at the start of the game, and you put their signature card, as it were, like Medic or Brainstorm into the hand. It's like, well, why can we give Hound that? So that's why he's got the Holomatter projector in your hand at the start of the game. And this was something that came later just to make it a little bit more exciting. And it's when you play a Holomatter projector and have Sergeant Hound Infantry Recon on the battlefield, draw 2 cards and then scrap a card from your hand. So for me, thematically, that kind of made sense that you're buying time with your holograms. You're wasting Megatron's time. You're getting a bit more dig through the deck. So that's kind of like the thematic reason behind that ability. And obviously, we all know that drawing cards is good. So yeah, what do you think, mate?
Okay, so I think the first thing that screams to everyone's mind if they play it competitively or casual is like, he starts with a Holomatter projector in hand? That doesn't make any sense. But guys, there's ways of getting rid of that with card removal. There's ways of getting rid of it when it comes out on the board. It just feels right that the guy who basically throughout. Well, we saw it in the first couple of episodes of the cartoon. He makes an airport. He creates a person. He even like creates Megatron at one point for some random reason to prove a point to Spike, I think. I don't know. There's just so much randomness going on with Hound. It just seemed right that the man had, you know, he had to have something like that because, come on, seriously, like he is the master because he's always reconning ahead and doing some fun stuff and slowing down the army. It made sense. And the funniest thing about this character, which I absolutely love, obviously he gets +1 health, so he goes to 14 health. In truck mode, obviously he's 5 attack, 1 armor, but it was the bot mode that made a lot of people kind of play him a little bit. Is when you upgrade this, he gets +2 attack, so you can just go on a turn of just flipping him, upgrading him, getting him up to a silly amount of attack, and then going, holy cow, he hits for that much. And I feel like, yeah, he kind of got lost a little bit along the wayside because of his star cost. And obviously when it comes to building competitively or just casually, 9 stars, he's competing with some really, really heavier hitters. And he just seemed a little bit lackluster. So with this stratagem, hopefully it makes you go, ooh, I get to basically play holographic projectors and I get to do a free confidence when I play one. That seems pretty cool value to search your deck for something that you want to get and then obviously discard one and stuff like that. It just seems right. But obviously, you know, with confidence you get to play an action. But it kind of has a similarity, doesn't it? Draw 2 cards and then scrap a card from your hand. It just gives you that card, that hand value, if you will, looking to plan your turns ahead of time, which is pretty much what you really want to do.
And it's relevant as well. The holomatic projector is very relevant for Autobots because magnetic dysfunction rate is a thing, and it was definitely one of the most powerful weapons Decepticons got in Wave 5. So it just helps your Autobots out a little bit more, particularly if your friends like playing lots of Decepticons, which a lot of my friends seem to like doing. So there you go. There's Holomatic Mastery. Next one, sir.
Okay, so the next one we also kind of spoiled in our preview video that we released, which is Impervious, which is the Major Ultra Magnus Infantry City Commander. Jeez, they do not make these names easy, do they?
Springer, UNRC transform Autobot City. Receptor, tell Blaster to Radio Prime for reinforcements.
What about me, Magnus? What about me? I can help. I want to help. What about me?
Blur, you can help me alert the others.
His stratagem is 1 star, guys. It's designed by Dave and Jared again, aka Rogue247. And it states, if an opponent's card would cause an armor to be scrapped from your Major Ultra Magnus Infantry, gosh darn it, that big name, instead, you may scrap an armor from your hand. And then in the second paragraph, while Ultra Magnus is upgraded with his armor, he gets +2 health. Dave kind of covered it in the preview video, so I'm going to be a real hilarious cop-out and say pause this podcast or pause this video and go check out our overview video. Cool. Welcome back. Thank you. And it's really cool. I really like it. There's a lot of interesting things because this obviously was hugely debated in our team about, does it feel right? Is this too powerful? What is the deal? And it comes down to pretty much what we said is one of our main factors of our set. Theme. Ultra Magnus should have his armor. But when you start the game with the armor, your opponent can just get rid of it immediately. And that always was like 2 stars down the drain immediately, or eventually 1 star if you played Heroic Spotlight. But the thing is, Dave obviously will go into it a little bit more, but obviously with the ability of having Ghost Shield, it basically is a Ghost Shield for Magnus armor, which keeps that around and relevant longer. That's incredibly scary. And obviously if you can keep him around for long enough, 2 additional health, he becomes a beefcake.
And say it with me, beefcake!
I know you're probably getting peed off with hearing that beefcake so much, but you know, we love South Park here, so get over it. Right, guys, Dave even, what is your thoughts behind the controversial stratagem, also known as Impervious?
Well, you know, for me, when you're paying as much as you were into Ultra Magnus, it was almost not worth even bothering with his armor. And then it's almost like, well, if you're not going to take his armor, then there are way better characters at 12 stars that I can take. So I'm just not going to play, mate. You know, yeah, he had Brave, and that's pretty good. But, like, there was a lot better characters you can take for around that sort of star mark. So I was like, well, yeah, you know. And I've got, you know, I managed to pick him up relatively cheap at the end of the game's life, sort of thing. And it always annoyed me that, like you say, like, okay, I'm going to go first. I'm going to take you Ultra Magnus or like whatever. And then on their turn, when they go bashing shield, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah, some stupid shield can get rid of this really high-powered armor.
Yeah.
What?
And it always felt to me like that Shield, Ultra Magnus armor wasn't really worth its 2 stars. Like, it's one of the only battle cards that was 2 stars, and it really felt like it shouldn't have been 2 stars. It should have been 1 stars when there's that kind of proliferation of removal in the game, particularly when they start making even more like green pit removal, like disassemble from wave 5 and reprocess from wave 4. It just was no point in playing Magnus with his armor. You'd better off doing something else. So, like, me and Jared again were like, how can we make this better? How can we make it so he is relevant? How can we make it so his armor just doesn't get blown up? And we did try a couple of things, but this is kind of what we settled on. Was Ghost Shield from wave 5 was a really good bit of kit. And it had a really cool way of protecting itself from bashing shield. So it's just really a simple port on there. And the other thing was his health total. Like, when you're paying 15 stars, because you are going to be paying 15 stars with this, he needs to survive. He needs to be worth it. So we've pushed him up to almost Galaxy Prime health totals. And that's it, really. I think we covered it in the preview, didn't we? But that's my thoughts behind it. And I have really enjoyed playing with Ultra Magnus again, and actually enjoyed it. Like, okay, I've built my deck in a way where I can protect the armor, and he is a threat, a viable threat for the duration of the game, rather than just being like, sad Ultra Magnus, no armor for you. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, there is a drawback to this, which I think people need to consider. Obviously, you're going to keep trying to scrap that armor. You are spending cards for that, but remember, Pierce is a thing.
It is, definitely.
It is a thing. Just remember that,
It is
guys.
definitely a thing.
Just remember that. So you can still go through that really heavy armor. It just made sense to keep his armor around, because otherwise he's not really Magnus.
Absolutely. And I think that's the main thing. Again, theme.
Theme.
We wanted to be theme. You know, if he's not in his armor, like I said in the preview video, the press release, like, he may as well just be Minimus Ambus, which is Ultra Magnus when he's not in his armor in the comics, you know, like, and he's like a little guy. And it's like, no, Magnus is hard. He needs to be hard. He needs to be hard as nails. So yeah, that's Impervious. We hope you like it.
Right, number 8.
Arguably, this probably is going to cause a little bit of a, oh my god, you've given one card all this text.
Yeah.
Because this was Lee's baby, and I kind of jumped in about halfway through the design process, because this card underwent countless changes.
Okay, so right. Okay. Everyone knows I hate English. I don't know why Dave had to give it such an elaborate name.
To annoy you.
It is. It pretty much is. So this is a Constructicon stratagem for Scrapper, Constructicon Foreman.
Scrapper, report! All present are accounted for, noble leader! Scavenger! Mixmaster! Long Haul! Bone Crusher! Hook! And myself!
It is called Malevolent Architect, giving me all these tricky words to say, sir. Now, before we get into it, obviously, this is obviously my baby, and also a controversial thing. It's 0 stars, guys. So just remember that 0 stars. Just get that out of the way immediately. 0-star stratagem. It's a 2-sided one, so obviously this begins with this side face up. If your starting team is all Constructicons, your Constructicons have +2 health. So, remember those Constructicons that literally died immediately? Somehow, we've made a stratagem that keeps them around a little bit longer, and I'm not just blowing my own horn. Through multiple testings in the teams, this somehow made them playable. Just this one line on the top. We could have just left it at that, to be honest, but we wanted to do more. So in the second paragraph, it says, at the start of your first turn, remove a height counter from your tower. So obviously it's a 0 stratagem cost stratagem, it needs to have a downside, because it seemed way too powerful throughout the design process with some of the battle cards as well. To start with 1, it seemed way too aggressive and somehow made Devastator way more playable and dangerous. So we basically removed the height counter, so you're going to be starting at 0. So that is the cost of not having a star for the stratagem, guys. So there is a bit of a downside to it, but it's pretty darn good because of the next ability. The next ability is when you flip a Constructicon to bot mode, draw a card. Now, remember this, guys, because I forgot this, because I break rules all the time. That needs to be on the live board, not in your KO area.
Yes, alive on the battlefield.
Alive on the battlefield.
And that applies also to the +2 health as well. It only applies to Constructicons on the battlefield. So in your KO zone, they only have their printed health. So when you combine with their printed health total damage, not the extra damage that you would have soaked up from the stratagem.
Which is kind of funny, because I've had games where I've been like, okay, he should be dead, but that's going to be literally a fat 0 onto the combined thing, which is kind of unfortunate, but keeps them round longer, which is very, very key. So first off, before we flip it to the next side, I liked how this came about, because the one thing that infuriated everyone is how bad the Constructicons were, because obviously they're 6 wide. That's an incredible combiner, but to give them 5 or 4 health, that's just basically not right. I'm sorry, but it just... No, you can't do that. I'm sorry, but Wizards did, and it's just kind of always been the downside to them a little bit, is because the whole gimmick is you need to get to the tower to a certain point, but then they had low health, so you could just ping them off, and especially at the end of the game where everything was indirect damage, you could just literally be like, bap, cool, I killed 3 in 1 turn. You're like, oh god, that's... No, what? No, just why? And coming into the design process of this, we wanted them to be very, themed, but also we wanted them to be playable. And with this side, it kind of does.
Yeah, I think that was the main goal, wasn't it? It's we want them to not suck. And they really did. If you look at them compared to the other Wave 2 combiners, like Superion, who combines with 1 more health than the actual printed values of the guys, Predaking, Menasor, they were all better. Sentinels were better, because Optimus Maximus was frightening. They were just all better. They all, Devastator was rubbish, and Devastator was the first combiner. First one we see in the cartoon. In the lore, he was the first one that was combining, in the comics and stuff. He was just crud. 33 health. Yeah, you're going to repair some damage, but because of how quickly they died, your towers sometimes 3 or 4, you're like, wow, I'll repair 4 damage. Brilliant. Yeah, I'm still dead next turn when you attack me. It just felt like effort to me whenever I played Devastator, because I love Devastator. It's one of my favourite things. It just didn't. It just felt, you'd be like, oh, what's the point of playing this? I might as well just go, if I want to play a combiner, I'll go and play one of the good ones. So we thought, how can we fix this? And originally the stratagem was just a 0-star stratagem that was it was only, the only ability was the +2 health. But we play tested it. And where we've come up, because there was a lot of abilities on this free stratagem, and I say free because there is a slight downside to the tower thing. I must have clocked in at least 60 or 70 games with Devastator to get this stratagem to where we were happy. We've tried it at the top end, so we put it against tournament decks. I'm telling you now, Metroplex still destroys him. I'm telling you now, Sky Shadow still destroys him. Aussie's Orange Black Soundwave still destroys. They still don't have what it takes to be what I'd call a tournament staple list. So, if there are any Turbo Revving tournaments, and I know there's at least one coming up because Adam is surprised me this week with a real treat. I don't think Devastator's going to cut the mustard at competitive level, but what we've done is bring him up to a casually competitive level so he can stand toe-to-toe with some of the other combiners, with some of the other popular characters that are out there. So that's the health total. But what's, for me, I was still finding, and I don't know if Lee, you probably agree with this, like, to build up the tower, you've got to throw cards away, and you're literally top decking every single turn. You're just top decking, so you've never really got a relevant play. Be like, I'll play an action, I'll play an upgrade, and I'll throw my other card away to the tower, and then next turn it's like, do I actually want to play a card, or do I want to feed the tower? And it just felt like that whole tower mechanic was counterintuitive to like playing a trading card game where your cards are value. They're like your currency, as it were, in the game. They're what help you win the games. And if you don't have any cards in your hand, then you're just going to lose. So that's kind of where like the cliff jumper style ability came in. And we tried different iterations. We tried draw and discard a card, but then you were still at the same net card disadvantage. We tried it without a tower penalty, and we felt like with this flip ability, the tower had to start at 0. So would you agree with what I've said? I think I've covered everything there. That's why it's ended up there.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with some of the battle cards which we're going to get into. This had to change multiple times because of the battle cards that we made. Because we knew what battle cards, like I think we did the battle cards first, and then we were like, cool, now we need to make a strat that balances out what we want it to do, but also what we're putting in the set. And it was a very tricky and a challenging, shall we say, process, because we wanted to make them relevant. We didn't want to make them like really powerful and everyone should just play him and not look at any other combiner. We wanted them to be playable and theme and fun. And with the battle cards, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, very theme, and also it rewards you for playing their battle cards, which is kind of their whole shenanigans.
Yeah, and rewards you for taking the deck in the direction that the creators of the game intended, which was to build the tower up.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I've seen 6-wide Constructicon decks that are just like orange, black clown, far out million, you're just bold orange death, like, but that's not, you can go that route, and you can still go that route with this stratagem, but that's not really what Wizards of the Coast intended. And that was, you're going to build the tower. The Constructicons are building their tower, and they're going to become more powerful when they combine, and it just never really worked. I've tried to use them so many times before we came up with this. And we've been quite careful as well that any Constructicon cards we have made have been designed with the original Devastator team in mind, haven't we? Because other groups may well do Devastator.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to buff cards that we hadn't had any hand in designing or anything like that. We were quite conscious that these cards were really for the OG one. A couple of the battle cards can be played with future iterations because they just refer to Constructicons, but this stratagem is for Scrapper, Constructicon, Foreman. So you have to be playing the OG ones. So that's that side. I love the second side because it's like brilliant. What's the second side, mate?
Eddie Santos has created a card with this name, but it just felt right to use it. So Eddie, I'm sorry, but the next side is prepare for extermination.
Devastated.
Prepare for extermination.
It's the iconic line. Everyone remembers that as soon as Devastator Cup kind of just goes, uh-oh. And just literally, I'm pretty positive Dan, if we could have seen it, Dan probably peed a little bit as soon as they go like, oh, that's not a good sign. And then obviously Devastator I think I just want to say, just jackknife power bombs like sludge, like literally just takes him out like amazingly, and just wipes out the Dinobots. You're kind of like, oh yeah, we forgot how powerful Devastator can be. But anyway, moving into the stratagem, it states on the card, this begins the game with the other side face up, and it states as well, your Devastator Towering Warrior gets +2 health and tough equal to his bold total. So guys, obviously, when you get into big daddy scary McGee mode, you get bold 2 when you get to tower 6 or more, and then obviously when you get to 10, your base attack goes to 10. So the one thing Devastator had going for him was he could take a punch, but little guys would obliterate him really quickly. So we wanted to make sure he could stick around. So making him have tough as well as bold just made sense. So obviously when you flip him into that mode for the first time, you're going to heal, obviously. Then your health goes from 33 to 35, which, you know, that is quite good, just saying is all. But having the tough is quite interesting because Dave's already mentioned it. You could go bold, you could do whatever, you could do this. If you do go the bold route, on the defensive flips, you're going to be doing tough. So you're going to go through your cards quicker to get what you want, possibly, and top draw some shenanigans. But the base thing about it is, I've been playing him quite controllingly, and it can be horrific for your opponent. Like, with some of the battle cards we have, and obviously mixing other sets and loads of others, it's been really interesting playing him as a controlling, conniving kind of guy, which has been kind of cool because that's pretty much what the Constructicons were for me. Growing up, like, reading the comic books, Scrapper was the smartest one. Like, he had so many cool ideas, you know, and they've always been a bit more scheming than any of the other combiners. Let's be honest. You know, not a lot of the combiners had alternative goals, and pretty much Devastator did, and so did the Constructicons. So giving him an extra 2 health and giving him tough equal to his bold just makes him very, very scary and relevant. So, yeah. Dave, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you've kind of nailed it, really. Like, you can build this team now in a multiple, you know, different ways. The build I've been playtesting is a very mixed pip, leaning slightly more orange, but there is blue in there as well. I know you did a control build, Dan Ciliag from Pips and Flips, Dan Galley. He did a blue-black thing, and we've had like orange fart death machines from Matifa. So we've had like lots of different versions. Like I say, around about 60 to 70 games at least, and that's 60 or 70 games that I have played. Like, you know, Dan's built him, Richard built him, Lee's built him, Matifa's built him. There's been probably close to 150, 200 games.
So many games.
Just making sure we got this right, because we didn't want to make him the monster that, like, well, what's the point playing anything else? Because I might as well just play Devastator now because he's ridiculous. But equally, not just doing him a bit of justice. You know, it should be noted that with the additional health on the other side, if you're clever when playing against Devastator, you can actually do it. So he's taken more than 35 damage when he combines and the stratagem flips. So before you do your tower repair, he can literally just fall to bits. So that's a bit of balance as well. That's something that's not readily apparent because he only has 35 health. So he doesn't get the plus 12 health that the other side gives you. That's just to give you a bit more of a fighting chance to build your tower and to not have them just instantly die. Because you want to attack in alt mode because you want to discard cards to the tower, but then you want to be able to flip to bot mode and get the value from the stratagem. So, you know, before you go up in arms, and I appreciate this stratagem has an immense amount of text on it for no cost. Devastator was terrible in comparison to other combiners. So I think what we've done is just bring him up to a power level where we're happy with him fighting toe-to-toe with the other combiners. So that's it, really. You know, I love it. It's made me love the character because I hated it. Like, when I saw Devastator was in the game, I think we all did, didn't we? Like, oh, let's go and get Devastator. And you played a few games, like, why? What is this?
Yeah, I think I did an unboxing, like, I'm really excited to play this. And then I played it and was like, oh, this is really about how you can deck build really, really smart more than care about the characters because they just got nuked every turn.
Yeah.
So it was like, you never had any longevity because we always made the joke, and we've always said it on our podcast, was like, what's the point of playing a combiner when you eventually combine, you can't really have a ton of health, and you're basically missing an arm, and you've got like a couple of like giant holes in you, and like one arm's not working, another leg is like blown off. You're just like, yeah, that's not the combiner I remember.
No, exactly.
And we've made him playable, guys. Like, seriously, a lot of us in the group have been like, making sure he's not busted, but also he's fun to play. And by God, he is fun to play, finally.
It's a much more positive experience. And it is, you know, it is a lot better. You will find that your tower is higher, so you're repair relevant. So I think on average, I'm combining at around between 15 and 20 damage, depending on who I don't know what kind of archetype I'm against, but like that's after repair. So if you're looking at those numbers there, you're still taking nearly 25 to 30 damage pre-combine. So that health bonus is definitely needed to keep them in the fight long enough to get the value out of committing to the tower.
100%.
Just let us know your thoughts in the comments. You know, what do you think? Are you going to try it? Or like, and I think the beauty of it is, and again, this is I say this a lot. You can pick and choose what fan cards you want to play with. I hope you do choose to play with Phase 1 because it really is fun to play with. But you don't have to. But if you think, well, that Devastator stratagem is a bit nuts, but you like some of the battle cards, just play the battle cards. Like, the battle cards enhance him without needing to play the stratagem. I just think the stratagem gives him a fighting chance when your opponents are putting down, like, Fangry, Horrible, you know, some of the other gnarly stuff that you see out there. And, like, he may not win every game, but, you know, he's winning his fair share now, like about 50-50, I'd say.
Yeah, he's definitely a 50-50 kind of guy. And that's funny to say because normally you'd say he wouldn't really win a lot. Now he's winning 50-50. It's kind of interesting because against some decks he still gets ruffle stomped, but then it's kind of funny because you're like, he should really be dying, but somehow he's won one against a big boy, but then he would lose his 3 because certain cards wouldn't come out or it just wouldn't go your way. But it's like, holy cow, he's playable. Might not be like broken, but he's playable, which is
I think so. And that was the goal, make him playable. Make the Constructicons a fun team to play with. The original ones, not necessarily what may or may not come in the future projects. So that's Malevolent Architect, and that's Prepare for Extermination. I think it's quite cool actually, just touching on the because we have chosen the same name as what Eddie did for the reformatted set. If you look at the Arcwave 1, they chose a battle card and called it Resilience. There's a stratagem called Resilience, and it's for Brawn. So it's not really an issue because they're not battle cards. You know, it's a different card that sits in a different part of your deck building process. So you can have, if you want to play with Eddie's cards, which are awesome, you can play his Prepare for Extermination as the battle card with our stratagem, Prepare for Extermination.
It's 100%. So. And the funniest thing about it as well, just speaking about Eddie's set, we started without using his... We started actually with using...
We started using it with the Enigma combination.
With the Enigma combination, which is really strong and makes it really, really good. But it makes all combiners very consistent. But then we started playtesting without it, and it still was consistent even without that. So
yeah,
it was...
We've playtested it with and without.
It was shocking.
Haven't we?
Like, it's been really interesting going like, wow, this does as good with the power cards that we think are out there at the moment, and also without them. It's... You know, smiley faces all around.
We were mindful to not make something quite along the lines of, say, is it High Speed Chase from ATP2, like the Megatron Stratagem, which they designed with competitive play in mind. 100%. So they made it so you can combine on turn 3. We didn't want to make a monster like that. We just want to make something good, and I think we've succeeded there.
Yeah.
And like you say, you can play with or without. The beauty of the game and where it is now is you can cherry pick what you want to play. You know, we've been playing alongside the Arkham Bay formers. You may just decide to play it alongside WotC, or you might decide to play alongside some ATP stuff. Just play with it's your game. Play it how you want to. Just make sure everyone that you're playing with, like the seagulls outside, just make sure that people that you're playing with are on the same sort of page as to what you're doing. You know, so just bear that in mind because we haven't tested it extensively with reformatted, and I think the Enigma combination can push those combiners into a very, very competitive level.
Which is awesome. Like, for me personally, because not everyone would think combiners can be competitive, but it definitely pushes them.
Absolutely. But you just got to be mindful of how you approach that in the game. So it's a really, really powerful stratagem. It is really good. We love it. Please play it.
Yeah.
I think we've waffled on enough about Malevolent Architect. So next up, this is designed by Nezumi, one of the founding members of the Turbo Revving Old Punks, and this card is a really cool one, and I bet you're glad I'm saying this name because it's Obfuscating Cloud.
Why are you picking hard names, guys? Is this on purpose? I guess it is.
It was.
It was.
100% was. So I was like, this is going to drive Lee insane, this name.
Oh,
so
mate, I'm just going to say, I'm going to play the Cloud Strat.
I'm playing Smokescreen Strat. I don't care what it's called. But yeah, Obfuscating Cloud for Private Smokescreen, Special Ops Soldier.
Smokescreen, buy us some time. You'll never know what hit it.
Another character from Wave 4 that just maybe didn't shine as much, and he was quite, you know, in the later series of Transformers, certainly as Season 2, he plays quite a big role. So the stratagem was 1 star, and it reads, before the game begins, you may put a smoke thrower from your deck on your private smokescreen Special Ops Soldier. So very theme for me there. That's something like when Richard said about this, I'm like, yeah, that's a really cool idea. So again, in the vein of the Wave 3 cards, where you would tutor at the start of the game, because that's the only kind of tutoring we've been allowed in Transformers, and Lee was told he wasn't allowed to have any more. No. Was like, before the game begins, you can do this thing. So in the cartoon, he sprays smoke everywhere, doesn't he? He drives around in circles, sprays smoke, and makes it hard for the Decepticons to hit the fellow Autobots, which leads on to the next part of the stratagem, which is, while your private smokescreen Special Ops Soldier is upgraded with Smoke Thrower, your other characters have Safeguard 3. So Safeguard was one of those abilities from Wave 4 that was very hit or miss. If they didn't have any direct damage, it was incredibly strong. But let's face it, Lee, there's loads of direct damage, isn't there? You're direct damage master, so
yeah,
you know.
You don't really mind. Like, seriously, there's enough stuff out there that makes this, let's just be honest, Stone Cold Steve Austin's it. Every single day of the week. But there is also repair, which is a thing. And we have had games where it literally has been like, okay, we just need to get Safeguard off the board, but then Rich has somehow pulled incredible turns of repairing and how he's built the deck and how he's built with characters to then basically go, they all got Safeguard 3 again. And we're like, that's insane. And it's been really cool to see that, to be honest. It's been really cool to see that.
Equally, on the flip side, there's been games where on their turn 1, they just go, right, I'm going to blow up your smoke thrower. No more Safeguard for you.
Exactly.
You know, and then, you know, Mag Ray, turn 1 Mag Ray. All right, there you go. No more Safeguard for you guys. So there is definitely this surface glance is very good, but it's very easy to shut it down. There's plenty of things out there: armed hovercraft, Mag Ray, marksmanship. There's so many cards. So many cards. So it's a really, again, it goes back to the core design, I think, for me and you, Lee. Theme
and fun.
And it was making you play Smoke Thrower, which you probably never played.
Yeah.
So yeah, Smoke Thrower, seeing a bit of play, and yeah, lovely bit of design from Rich there. I love it. Really love it.
It is rather cool to have this in this set, just because I think a lot of people love Smokescreen as a character. Obviously with the strat, takes him to 8. Obviously with the Smoke Thrower, it gives you bold 2 and it's a black pip. So guys, you love the bold, but yeah, there are better ways of doing it, but it doesn't matter. It makes you play Smoke Thrower to begin with, and also you're playing private Smokescreen. Like, that will catch a lot of people off guard, like going, what? And Smoke Thrower? What? They'll just look at you with a tilted head and go like, really? And you'll be like, yes, really. Do you want to have some fun?
It's breathing life into a character again that doesn't see a lot of play.
100%.
Because let's face it, there are better cars.
Yeah, they are. 100%.
Than Smokescreen. Way better cars. I'm a car player. Chad, the car player, aka Matifa, is also really into his cars, and you're just going to play someone else. So we had to give him something that was worth considering taking.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's it. That's Obfuscating Cloud. It's one of your cards next.
It's one of my cards. So this is stratagem number 10 called One Tough Bug. It is for Sergeant Scrapnel, Infantry, Electronic Warfare.
There's something in the water!
What is happening? Welcome to Demon Swamp.
It's a stratagem. It's 1 star, and your Sergeant Scrapnel gains +2 health to begin the game. And if your starting team is all Insecticons, your starting star limit is increased by 2. Just let that sink in for a second. Okay, I've let it sink in enough. Who plays Sergeant Scrapnel?
No one.
There we go. There's more crickets. Like, there's been more crickets, obviously because of bugs. See what I'm doing there, Dave? See what I'm doing there?
Yes.
Like it. Right, but no one ever played Sergeant Scrapnel. Like, they just looked at him and just was like, move on. Bind a card. Do not care. Jog on. And it was really, really sad because on paper, his stats look really, really cool. But I think it was just his cost that put a lot of people off.
Well, he's what, 9 stars?
Yeah.
Like, you look at his Wave 1 incarnation.
It's a lot to live up to.
Just exactly. Like, everyone knows that Wave 1 bugs was horrible. Insecticons, whatever you want to call it. Like, Wave 1 Insecticons, the orange death machine, were horrible. They really were horrible. And we haven't designed this card to make that archetype better. Yeah, you can build an orange bugs deck with this. What we want, well, I think what you wanted to do, because we originally were looking at making it for Wave 1 Scrapnel, weren't we? And they're like, what are we doing? Like, he doesn't need
help, but it was pretty good.
It was pretty good, but we were like, no.
You don't want bugs back.
Lee Beans, and this is where my name tag comes on the bottom of the card. I was like, no, we can't have Wave 1 Scrapnel. You're mad.
You're a madman.
You are. So we were like, well, what else can we do? Because, not Constructicons, we just talked about them. Insecticons definitely have fallen into obscurity, and there have been some efforts. Obviously, ATP have done their ransack for their competitive circuit. So yeah, like, you could do some naughty stuff with combining it all, but again, make sure your opponent's on the same page as you. This was kind of like, for me, where I wanted to sort of jump in and take it was, let's make the siege cycle of bugs a little bit better, because they were a bit naff, weren't they?
Yeah, they were all about healing.
They were irritating.
And they irritated your opponent because you'd be doing so much damage, and then it'd be like, I play this, I heal. I can do this, I heal. I do that, I heal. And you were like, so my attack just did jack to you. That's fantastic.
But again, because of the black pip.
Yeah.
And the prevalence of PS, blue bugs just weren't like, they were like it always felt like a losing strategy. And we've done some deck tech challenges on our Thursday night games where you hilariously have built the undefeated bombshell deck.
Undefeated
and
bombshell.
We've already been talking about like sliding this alongside that bombshell, because you can do some cool stuff.
Horrible stuff with it.
and any for me, any deck that is playing Wave 2 bombshell and Wave 3 Scrapnel, that's we've done our job. I think we've made it so it's like, you're playing characters you just don't play, because otherwise you're just going to go, oh, I'm going to play Insecticons. I'll play Scrapnel from Wave 1, Kickback, Barrage, and one of the other two guys.
I don't care.
Exactly, and this just opens it up to some of the more interesting siege ones, which had some really cool mechanics, I think, that didn't have really a chance to shine. So yeah, that was your baby to start with, and I kind
because I really wanted Wave 1 Shrapnel to come back, because I was on a bit of a bugs tear. I must have been smoking something and going like, man, he needs love. He needs love. Lee, he doesn't. Yeah, he needs love, man. He never sees play. You're mad. No, Lee, you're mad. Jog on. But yeah, no, it was really cool to breathe life, hopefully, into a character that people can have a look at, because honestly, it is taking you to 10 stars with this guy. But if you think about it, you then have 2 extra stars for Insecticon cards, and then you can go super interesting with that build.
There's lots of
so many different rules. Yeah. It's so good, and it basically makes you be a little bit more creative with your bugs build, which is kind of funny to say, because there's probably going to be a few similar cards that will go in there, but it just changes the lineup a little bit, which is quite tasty.
Yeah, it opens up options, and he is brave, so like, he is quite relevant, you know, from protecting. So particularly if you go in the siege bugs, like, you're protecting your Kickback, your Chop Shop. You know, you're protecting the ones that you don't just want to be punted off the board before you can get going. So he is quite good, which is why he's got that +2 health as well. I think it was important that he had just a little bit more longevity. Yeah. You know, But yeah, it's cool. It's good. Yeah, you could probably abuse this with some other fan-made stuff.
Yes, abuse definitely is a really strong word, but it can.
But it wasn't mine or Lee's intent when we
Not at
designed this
all.
card. Not one bit. We're like, let's make the siege bugs a little bit more
But
interesting.
it would be fun if that does become an issue. We can gladly hold our hands up and say, yes, we are the ones that started the Insecticon infestation again. We'll gladly put that banner and go like, are you playing Insecticons again? Good for you. Oh, you're running our strat? Good for you. And we'll hilariously smile if we do break the game. But trust me, we've looked at it long and hard. That deck, if you go a certain route with certain characters, trust me, it can get fudged over. Just letting you know.
Oh, it can. And and we live in an age of digital cards. So these can't, like, you know, if someone was to break this and make a really horrible negative play experience, we would look to change one-off bug.
100%.
Like, you know,
100%.
But we're happy with where it is currently. We feel that the design intent was to improve a Insecticon archetype that doesn't really see a lot of love, because they were slightly overcosted, they were slightly lackluster, so that was the design intent.
100%. Right, next one then, Dave.
Almost there. We can see the end of the tunnel in sight for this first phase. So this one is designed by my good friend Brian Blair, and this is called, and this again theme, Out of the Way Hot Rod, for Private Hot Rod Infantry Soldier.
Not bad for an old-timer.
Old-timer? That's something you'll never be if you don't get back to the city.
Save it, Cup! Let's burn rubber.
It's a 1-star strat. Your Private Hot Rod Infantry Soldier has +2 health. And if your Private Hot Rod Infantry Soldier would take non-attack damage, instead you may have one of your other characters take that non-attack damage. Loved Brian's idea for this. We did throw a couple of other ideas for Wave 4 Hot Rod around. It just feels on point. Like the line from Transformers the movie, Out of the Way Hot Rod.
I thought you were made of sterner stuff.
No, you don't, Megatron!
Out of the way, Hot Rod!
And it's just synergizes so well with his Safeguard ability. Again, we're looking at Safeguard here. This one really makes Hot Rod a lot more survivable, particularly if you build your deck in the right way. But it's only non-attack damage, so it's not all damage. So, like, if they just swing into him, yeah, you're going to get Safeguard for 1 attack, and then if you don't manage to somehow get back to full health, you're going to get pounded on the neck. So you've got to be careful with Hot Rod still. But it just gives him, again, a little bit more of a fighting chance to be relevant for your team, because he's, 9 stars? It's take him to 10?
Yep, it will take him to 10.
In fact, this goes back to our Deck Tech Challenge. You gave me this guy.
I did.
I love Hot Rods. I just think he just wasn't allowed to shine when Wizards of the Coast made him, because again, Safeguard with those abilities very easy to play around and just disable immediately. So having Hot Rod being able to dodge that incoming fire as he's brimming in, you know, what do you think, man? Well, I think Brian's done a fantastic job.
I absolutely love this card. This is super cool. Obviously, it takes it to 10 stars, which we discussed. It takes him from 12 to 14 health, which is very, very good. But the ability, obviously, one thing we've always said, Safeguard just kind of seems meh or dumb.
You're dumb. You're dumb.
You know, it's just not that great. This basically allows you to just go, yeah, okay, cool. I've still got Hot Rod left on the board. Cool. You're going to try and ping me with other damage. Not going to happen. It's just really theme. And the worst thing about it is, which is really sad, is Wizards of the Coast had some really sick artwork for this Hot Rod. And this is the card we unfortunately got. But Brian's given it a little bit of justice. I definitely want to play this. Hopefully this will make a lot of other people go back in the binder and go, I want to try this crazy Hot Rod out, because it seems really fun and just insane, because that'll be really, really cool to do.
Yeah, it just makes him playable.
Yeah.
Again, it makes him playable. Gives him a bit more of a fighting chance. You know, at 10 stars, 14 health is kind of on par with Trusted Lieutenant from Wave 2. It's a fairer health pool for someone. and he's harder to kill. He is better. He's definitely better with the stratagem. I've enjoyed playing with it. You know, I did some of the early play testing with Out the Way Hot Rod, and I loved it a lot. It brought one of my favourite childhood characters back. You know, I'm like, yeah, I love Hot Rod. So yeah, it's fun.
And speaking of fun, the next stratagem is fun, madly fun. I absolutely love this stratagem.
It's one of your favourite squads, isn't it? You love this team.
It is, man. It's freaking insane, this squad is. Right, so we're talking about Road Warriors. This is an Omnibot stratagem, guys. Can you remember them? I know I've put the cricket sound in, but I think a lot of people do remember them. Obviously, this was a very, very dedicated pack that you could get at San Diego Comic-Con. You got 3 of them working together as a group, and they have loads of crazy cool abilities. This stratagem, oh my gosh, super fun. So anyway, for 1 star, guys, if your starting team is all Omnibots, your starting star limit is increased by 1. So I believe this allows you to play this stratagem. So
it does. It does. It was designed by Ozzy, wasn't it? So Peter Lawson and his son Brendan, Ozzy. So Ozzy is Peter. They designed this. So this is Ozzy's contribution to Phase 1. And I'll let you carry on, sir.
It's all good. It's all good, sir. So the stratagem technically is kind of like a free strat if you're running all the Omnibots. Then the next paragraph, it says, each of your Omnibots gets +1 attack, +1 health. They needed that, guys. Just giving you a heads up. And then the final one is, when you upgrade one of your Omnibot cars, draw a card, then scrap a card from your hand. You know the whole deal. When you draw a card on your first turn or whatever, you get to play upgrades from your hand to basically upgrade your Omnibots immediately in bot mode. And there's specific ones, obviously, that title to you can play this on this, this on this, and this on that. And then obviously if you do, guess what? You get to draw a card and scrap a card from your hand. So card advantage, quite interesting how that will go. If you build a deck, really interesting. That can be really cool. So again, it kind of rewards you for, unfortunately, playing cars. So you're looking for those turbo boosters and start your engine cards, guys. Just saying is all. But also it allows you to play Omnibots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mad. And it just seemed right to include this because we're all about fun and we're all about theme here. And I absolutely love this. So Brendan, Peter, thank you for knocking this out the park and joining our Turbo Revving Old, and I'm going to say Young Punks as well. Because I don't think...
we have a couple of young punks.
We've got a couple of young punks, but mainly old uns.
Most of us are grumpy old gits like me. But no...
We're bruvners, mate, we are.
Bruvners. We're grumpy old bruvners, isn't it? God. What have we started? So yeah, again, at first glance, this does an awful lot for... if you're playing all Omnibots for nothing. But let's look at their stat line, right? They're 8 and 9 stars, and they have particularly poor attacks, health, and defense for their star costs. Their ability was only relevant in alt mode at the start of the game, and if you had a duff hand, they were just terrible. They just were not very good. And I think Ozzy kind of nailed it when we were talking about this, because Ozzy's submitted quite a few cards that him and his son have designed independently of being part of the punks. But Ozzy approached me about 6 to 8 weeks ago and was like, dude, I watched your podcast with Lee. I'd love to be involved in this. So I've already designed some cards. And he sent me the cards. I was like, dude, I love some of these. I'd love to have these cards in the set, and like the ones that I'm not sure about, I'm sure we can work together as a collective and bring out some stuff. So expect to see a lot more in Phase 2 onwards. There's some amazing battle cards, stratagems, even characters that Ozzy and Brendan have designed. So we're going to be looking at them moving forward. So expect Ozzy and Brendan to have way more of an impact in Phase 2 onwards. We've argued a lot about this stratagem. I won't lie. Me and Ozzy had a lot of discussions because the version that was originally submitted was slightly.
It made them very competitive. I would be nicely to say. It was like looking at it like, wow, Cars are an issue if they get going and playing. But then the funniest thing is, it would make them really, really competitive. But then I would laugh and go like, "You're playing Omnibots. What the heck?"
Yeah,
That's
like
the first thing.
exactly. For me, it was like I want to push them in the right direction. And one thing that Ozzy said was like, look at what you get on a 5-star car like Night Racer. And arguably, Night Racer is well above the curve, and she was part of the power creep that Wizards were giving us towards the end of the game. But he's right. At 5 stars, Night Racer has the same attack, the same health, better armor, because she had 2 armor, and she had an ability that interacted very, very nicely with secret actions, which I like. So he was right. Like, they were, when you stack them up to that. So they just got a little bit of a nudge. Of note, you can still play this when you're not running the whole team. It will just cost you a star. So if you want to play camshaft or downshift, or overdrive, it also costs you a star. So it's not free. It's only free if you're playing the entire team. It just pushes them in the right direction. I think the one that had the most tweaks was when you upgrade one of your Omnibot cards, draw a card, then scrap a card from your hand. Tried multiple iterations of this.
Yeah.
And I've played... this is one of the later additions to Phase 1. I have played more games with Omnibots in the last 3 weeks than I think I've ever played with Omnibots prior to that. And we've got it to a point where it's good. Yes, you can have some crazy explosive opening turns where the looting, so the draw and discard, digs you into exactly what you need. I can count now, that's happened 2, maybe 3 times in approximately 30-ish games.
Yeah.
So it makes them better, but you've got to be incredibly lucky to hit that. And Ozzy's been testing this, Dan's been testing this, and I know you're going to be...
I'm all over this now.
You're going to be all over this as well.
I'm all over this. I love this.
Unfortunately, we haven't had much chance, me and you, to play. In fact, we've been playing Marvel Champions more than we've been playing Transformers in the last couple of weeks. Just because I think I was so, going back to our last episode where I was like talking about burnout, I think we're just burnt out on doing this. So we've been playing Champions, but I know you're going to put this on the battlefield against me because for those of us that have the Omnibots, they weren't as expensive as, say, Cliff Jumper and Slipstream, like money, as in like a monetary value, but they were still like, 40, 50 notes. Yeah,
but that's you're getting, instead of 1 card, you're getting 3. So I thought there was more value in that, me personally saying that. But I think the name of the stratagem brings note to obviously Brendan and Peter and their motherland, and possibly one of the favorite trilogy of films in Mad Max, Road Warrior.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes sense. Like, there's a subtle nod. If you didn't get that, then you're not old enough to understand Mad Max, and I apologize. But yeah, that was a sick. I love that addition to the card as well. Like, it just makes me want to play like Mad Max now whenever I play like Omnibus. I'll be like, 1 second, I just need to play that one thing from Fury Road before I start.
Yeah.
Cool, now I'm ready to go.
That's it. But no, it's a really cool stratagem, and again, it gives you a reason to play those characters that you probably haven't really played with as much, because let's face it, Cliff Jumper's better, Trusted Lieutenant's better. There's so many better cards.
There's so better cards.
And then when you look at some of the other fan sets like the Arc, you've got, Matafa's Sunstreaker and Sideswipe. You've got his Bumblebee. You've got ATP have made Drift. You've got Bayformers have got some cards in like Savage Wheelie and some of the other stuff. It's like, there's just
Exhaust.
We don't talk about him because he's...
We don't talk about him because he makes me just pull my hair out. He is dumb.
He is dumb.
You're dumb.
In a good and bad way, guys.
In a good and bad way.
We're not hating you guys over there. In a good and bad way. But oh my god, he's insane.
Definitely one of my favourite cards from there. But then again, I'm a Cars player, and there you go. But yeah, give your Omnibots, for those of you that have got him, a spin, because he's awesome. What's next?
It's your pick, sir. And it's our boy Rich. I love this card as well, actually. I love this strat.
Again, it's another card that's pushing characters that just don't see any play, because the other iteration of this character that Wizards gave us was so much better than this one. So this card is called Silent Hunter. It was previewed on our press release video, and this is for Specialist Flame War Special Ops Hunter. So Rich gave you a bit of a spiel about it, but the card is doing 2 things again that I really like, and that's giving 2 lackluster cards, maybe an excuse to play. So this is before the game begins. You may put a Cybertonian bow. What does that do, Lee? Who knows what that does? Because it was rubbish. Put a Cybertonian bow from your deck on your Specialist Flame War Special Ops Hunter. And then when your Specialist Flame War Special Ops Hunter is upgraded with Cybertonian bow and attacks, do 2 damage to the defender after the battle. So, first of all, what does Cybertonian bow do? Because it was crud. It was rubbish.
It was a bit of a weird one. So Cybertonian bow is a blue card from Wave 1. It's a weapon. It gives you +1 attack, and it states when the upgraded character attacks and you flip an equal number of orange and blue pips, each of those blue pips add towards your total attack. Yeah. Let that sink in for a second.
It was so hit and miss.
It was hit and miss.
Like, why would I play this when I can play Energon Axe?
Yeah, there we go. Well, I think that was to everyone's question in Wave 1. Like, why don't I just play Energon Axe or even Grenade Launcher? Like, what the heck is this bow? I absolutely love this stratagem. I had the blessings of playing this a little bit late towards testing, and I can tell you now, the fact of when you pull, if you play a mixed pip deck with her, and you can pull off that Cybertronian bow shenanigans, that's awesome. And then you leave your opponent on 1 or 2 health and then polish them off, is so satisfying.
It's good. And she's got focus too as well in bot mode. She's got focus too. So it kind of really synergizes with the bow. You're not going to like win any awards with Specialist Flame on Cybertonian bow, but you're going to have fun doing it. We tried different we did try just doing 1 damage, and it just didn't feel relevant enough because she's quite weak. She's 7 stars, and she's not particularly high power. Like, she's got stealth, but you know, like she just never really shone. And her 5-star iteration is so much better. So much better.
It's so much better. But I can tell you now, with the games I've played, playing this stratagem and playing her and going all fembots, guys, so going, again, hilariously themed, I've had so much fun basically doing swap missions, re-tapping her, attacking, getting the same amount of flips correct, because you can focus to make sure you get the same amount correct, and getting that ping and doing more shenanigans. Mate, I love it. The card is straight up shenanigans.
Our shenanigans are cheeky and fun.
Yeah, I mean, his shenanigans are cruel and tragic.
Which makes them not shenanigans at all, really.
Again, it's reliant on her having it, though. So if your opponent just blows it up straight away and removes that toy from her, unless you draw another one...
Yeah, that's the thing.
The stratagem, there's the balance to it there. The stratagem does nothing if she doesn't have the bow.
100%. And that's the one thing I think we've got, some people need to remember is when they look at some cards, they're like, oh my god, this is crazy. And you're like, no. Think. This can easily be stopped. Like, I think that was the one thing with Silent Hunter and even the smokescreen one of Rich's designs as well, where we're like, oh my god, this is insane. Oh, wait a minute. If I sort out this, because they're very similar in design and giving love to older cards as well that never saw play, there's ways around it, but then if it comes back out again, you're like, oh, not again. And it's really cool to see that.
I think it's fun. And it's, again, the artwork. Look at the picture. She's holding a Cybertonian bow. It made sense. It just made sense from the theme aspect of our set. So, yeah, kudos, man. Rich, you designed a really cool, fun card for the set.
I absolutely love it. It's super fun.
Oh, you previewed this one on the press release, so...
Let's talk again and repeat myself. It's fine. So this is Stratagem 14, coming towards the end. Obviously, one more to go after this, guys. Well, obviously, the Nightbird one is its own separate beast within itself. But anyway, this is Soundwave Superior for Soundwave Communications.
Soundwave Superior, Constructicons Inferior.
It's a 1-star stratagem for Soundwave from the box, starter box that you could get with Blaster. And it states, when you play a secret action, do 1 damage to an enemy. Now, I'm going to let Dave talk a little bit about this, but there were so many iterations of this. But I could gladly say I was like, do the secret action thing because you love secret actions, and it just seemed right. Because this was should we just say the ugly duckling or the odd one out, wasn't it, for a very long time?
We struggled to get this to a point where we were happy. So I've designed this iteration of it. There was another version designed by my good friend Michael Santino over in the States, who has got that iteration as a special secret promo for himself, because unfortunately through the playtesting procedure it was a bit bonkers, and we tried another iteration of it with working with Inner Groove, another less seen card, and that too just didn't feel right, and we had to it almost went back to the drawing board, and I was like, I very nearly cut the card because I was like, I'm not happy with it. I'm just not happy. How many weeks we were bouncing back and forwards, the whole group, and I was just like, I just don't like it. I don't like it. And then I was like, what does Soundwave do in the Decepticons? He's like one of their spy masters. He's their espionage. He sends Laserbeak out. He listens to all the Autobot communications. He's on the artwork for Special Ops mission. What can we do? I was like, I've got it. When you play a secret action, do a point of damage. I love secret actions. Lee hates them. Yep. Claire hates them. Richard hates them. Yep. Everyone that plays me hates my secret action.
Well, we don't hate Dave. We just hate secret actions. We don't hate Dave. We love Dave, but we hate secret actions.
It reminds me of playing blue in Magic. I used to play a lot of blue control in Magic. I was one of those guys. That Summer of Jace the Mind Sculptor that we talked about last episode. I was one of those horrible people because I had to be, because there was no other way. It was horrible. It was horrible. But yeah, for me, the secret action is a really interesting part of the Transformers card game. It adds something you can do in your opponent's turn, which in the 2 ways prior to Wave 3, you didn't really interact in your opponent's turn. Apart from unless you had a triggered ability that triggered at a certain point. Like, you didn't do very much in your opponent's turn. So for me, secret actions were adding a little extra layer of depth to an already interesting game. And it just feels right. He's their spy master. He's their espionage guy.
Yeah, I feel like, I think like I said in the preview video and our press release thing, he didn't need a stratagem. He can be very consistent. This is a different way of playing him, but it feels way more Soundwave when you play it with this.
Yeah.
It feels way more Soundwave. And it can be hilarious when you play secret actions, because obviously we all know there's some powerful secret actions in there. And it also brings the whole secret actions back to the forefront of going through your binder and looking at some of them, because some of them definitely got forgotten about, and some of them can be really, really interesting with this Soundwave, trust me.
It's again, like you say, it's a deck building option. It's giving you an option to take him in a different route. So you could play, like Ozzy and me have played a lot of games against his orange-black Soundwave deck, which he's been doing very well. Like, you know, he's been playing in some of the tournaments online, and he's consistently winning games with that deck, and it's a really horrible deck. But it's a completely different beast to the deck that you build with Soundwave Superior. Completely different. 100%. So, you know, I really like the card, obviously. It just ticked a lot of boxes for me, and it's just really interesting to play. Try it out. You never know. What's the worst going to happen? You might like it.
You might like it.
You might like it. I love it. We're on to the last one, sir.
Last stratagem. We're here.
And it is almost a polar opposite of stratagem number 2 from the set. And it's also it's like his evil twin on the Decepticon side. And it's for Acid Storm, the Toxic Terror, and it's called Sulfuric Deluge. It's a 1-star. Your Acid Storm Toxic Terror has +2 attack and +1 defense. And while your Acid Storm Toxic Terror is in alt mode, he has Pierce 2. So very, very similar. It's like the mirror of the Warpath one. Acid Storm didn't need any more health, did he?
No.
But his attack was terrible.
It was poop.
It was rubbish. And his armor was rubbish.
Yep. 0. In fact, none. There was nothing there.
So +1 defense. And defense is less relevant in the game where it is now, like with the Black Pip and stuff. But just an extra point of defense can maybe buy him a turn or 2 more just to disrupt your opponent. Particularly in bot mode, his ability is very, very good against Orange Bold, because it just shuts off Bold completely. It just says no, no, no. But the attack gave him a bit more of a hitting power that you would expect a fighter plane to have. He's not flying a Cessna. He's in a bloody F-15. Do you know what I mean? It's better. And like for me, what I quite liked when designing the two, because these were designed both on the same day actually. So Warpath prevents the Pierce coming in when he's in alt mode, whereas Acid Storm is dropping acidic sulfuric bombs onto the opponent, melting their armor, which is why he got the Pierce too. So it's very simple, but I think it gives him a bit more playability.
I like this. I think you pretty much covered it, Dave. Opposite to Warpath, obviously, but both of these suffered. Like, I feel Acid Storm and Warpath were pretty much, they suffered in this set because they had a really cool, strong ability, but one suffered more because obviously less health, and the other one basically had no armor. So, like, there was pretty, like, a big downside to it. But, hey, maybe you guys play this, it takes him up to 7 stars, and have a really interesting, fun, should we say, planes build, because we've got some cards in our battle set which really helps out planes, and also there's stuff already out there that basically can make planes really interesting. And Acid Storm definitely has a place. I think sometimes he just gets forgotten about because there's planes that are sometimes better value for him than either 6 or 7 if you take this stratagem. But I definitely want to try some shenanigans out with some other planes from other sets with him.
It could be a really interesting sideboard option as well. Like a 7-star sideboard option. So you can have the stratagem in your board and Acid Storm. Like, not a lot of kitchen table players play with sideboards, but it's something I've started to do a little bit more because it really does improve matchups, and it makes them a little bit less of a given. That's the outcome. Because sometimes you have a really terrible matchup and you're like, oh, if only I could sideboard some cards here, but I don't play with sideboards because we're only playing like for fun. But no, build some sideboards, because quite often we do, like in our casual games, we just do a best of 3. Because you get a bit more of a run for your money, don't you, when you're playing with over 3 games rather than just like, one game and done. So, yeah, I like it. I think that both the Wave 2 characters we went back and gave a bit of help to definitely needed it. And I think it does make them, they're never going to be top end, but definitely fulfill a role and get a bit more value out of them.
100%. So, they're the stratagem guys, all 15 of them. What are your favorites? Comment below if you're on YouTube. Tell us your thoughts. If you watch this through Facebook, leave comments on the Facebook threads where we post these, because I'm always intrigued to see what people's thoughts are. We're all a little bit biased to what our favorites are, but there are some spicy ones in here, some ones where people are definitely like, I need to rethink of my thoughts on that character, bringing some characters back to the board. And then giving some love to some characters to even them out, possibly for an even playing field, should we say. So, yeah, I think we've done a standout job. Thank you, everyone, for testing these for us and contributing them as well, because there's a fair few people who were like, I've got this cool idea, and then they were willing to change their thoughts. I know I was quite stubborn with one, but hey, I eventually changed my mind for the greater good, should we say. But yeah, it's awesome to work with all these great people who've got their names on these cards, and I think Dave would say the same as well.
Completely agree. Like, without the help of the guys that have not only designed but also play tested, and there's a lot of you, I said thank you in the press release, you all know who you are. Like, we could not have done this without you. I'm humbled by the love and help that's been given to me and Lee and the other guys, Matt and Rich. Like, we're humble because we started this off as let's play some games once a week.
Yep.
And it kind of has become something more.
It's a beast.
Yeah, it's become something more. Yeah, it's a beast, and I'm very proud of it. So that's the first segment done. We are done with the stratagems.
We are done with the stratagems. Okay, guys, we are back, and it's time for the battle cards. We have 20. I don't think we're going to take too long on some of them because they're quite self-explanatory. We love these cards to death. There's been some in-house tweaking, in-house fights, all in banter, just saying, as no one literally threw down and punched anyone. A lot of things have changed with some of these cards. So we'll just get that off the bat because I've seen the time of this podcast. It's pretty lengthy. But all of these cards, we're extremely happy where they finished out. We mentioned at the beginning there's some that didn't make the cut that hopefully will make phase 2. I know Dave and me have a few where we're like, that needs to make phase 2 and we need to just play it into the ground because, yeah, there's one that we love that didn't make the cut. I know Dave and me can't say the name, but we know which one, but it just needs a lot more playtesting.
It needed more work, definitely.
It needed more work for sure. So, Sir Dave, we have 20. I'll let you kick things off because I went first on the stratagems. So you kick off with the battle cards. We'll go through 20. Then we'll talk about some cool announcements, and then we'll wrap it up in a nice tiny bow. How are you feeling?
Yeah,
That good?
I'm good. Yeah, let's blast through these because I think the stratagems always end up talking a little bit more about them.
100%.
So battle cards, first one, battle card 1. This is a common card for those that play Junkion, so you can play this in Junkion format. And this is Agile Formation. It is a action. It is a tri-pip card. I think it's the only triple pip card in the set, but it's a triple pip card with a difference. It is a black specialist pip, a blue ranged pip, and a green melee pip. So inspired by wedge formation and then later on assault formation from the Art Wave 1. We wanted to put in a formation as well. So this is my take on it. It reads, if you have a melee character on the battlefield, look at the top card of your deck, you may scrap it. If you have a ranged character on the battlefield, do 1 damage to an enemy. And if you have a specialist on the battlefield, draw a card, then scrap a card from your hand. For me, when I'm designing, I just wanted something that was a nod to the original formations, but not be just another automatic include 3-pip card because it's good for the pips. You've got to really think about this. Yes, it still triggers overwhelming advantage, and cards like that, Grapple, Artwind Blade, they all still get the value out of this being 3 colours. But when you're actually flipping it for battle, it is definitely less effective because it's a single pip card, and it might not be the pip you actually want. So if you're attacking each character with this, it's a blue on attack. That's that's not brilliant. So yeah, they're all on. I think the abilities, and I think Lee would agree here, they're all on par with what Wizards and the Art gave us. So they're good abilities, but they're nothing backbreaking.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like obviously when you put that lovely pip icon in the pip color, it really restricts the characters a little bit, but also, like Dave mentioned, it can get a bit crazy sometimes if you are trying to do overwhelming advantage. But if you think about it, guys, you're running Grapple and you're running like Arc Windblade and some of the other crazy people to try and get this flip. And then you're going, oh, well, if I am going to go all in on overwhelming advantage, sometimes these cards are just there for the pip colors, but they might not actually help me at all unless I play overwhelming advantage. So, yeah, there is a downside to it.
Well, I think what I wanted was a real build-around card, so a reason to play all 3 of the traits printed on the card. Because quite often, you play wedge formation in a deck just because, like, oh, I'm playing melee, guys. It's an orange-black. I'm just going to play it because I can repair a damage occasionally. But you generally don't play it with high priority. And you might not play around the other 2 abilities on the card. So for me, this was like, let's get a build around formation. So it really rewards you for having those 3 traits on the board.
100%. Right. Moving on to the next card, we have armor-piercing munitions. Love the artwork of Brawn. Absolutely love it. Or Brawl even, sorry, from the Combaticons. It's a blue pip card, guys. It's an action, and it states, choose one of your characters. When it attacks this turn in tank mode, it gets +2 attack until the end of battle, and you scrap all the defending character's armor. Yes. Making tanks actually relevant, because if you think about it, if a tank shoots at you, it's gonna hurt. And sometimes in Transformers, obviously, you can be like, well, I've got like all the defense in the world that only did 1 damage. Sure, it might only do like a little bit of damage, or it might even do no damage, but just that last little bit there, guys, and you scrap all the defending character's armor. So, extra paddings, goodbye. All the other things of armors, Goodbye.
I think for me, this card was inspired by hand-to-hand combat from Wave 5,
yes.
which has never really shone, really. There's better options that you can play in your deck. But for tanks, and like you say, tank shoot is going to hurt. So one of the fan cards I play a lot is from Art Wave 1, and that's Trithyllium Plating. And that is a beast of a card. If you haven't played with the Art Wave 1, I'd urge you to look at it, because particularly if you like playing like a control archetype like me, Tri-Plating made those viable again. But it could also be a little bit negative if your opponent couldn't get rid of them, because if you get a triple Tri-Plating stats on a character, it's got +3 defense and -6 to the pierce. That's scary. So we wanted an answer, didn't we?
Yeah, it's in the nicest way possible. We wanted to give an answer to that.
But not make it so it was a general blanket hate card. It can only really shine in tank decks.
Yeah.
So there you go. Armor piercing munitions, one of my faves, and yeah, I love it.
Yep,
it's great.
Very good card.
Card 3. I love this card.
Yeah, this is a great card.
This was one of the comics covers, and I was like, that's such a pretty piece of art, and I wouldn't normally attribute that to Transformers, like a really graceful image, but this card is called Camian Grace. It is a orange pip Autobot utility, and it reads, when you put this on a character, draw a card. While this is on Chromia, Nautica, Novastar, or Windblade, she has Focus 1. So it's real, for me, it was originally just going to be Windblade. And really as a nod to what Nick did from Blues on Attack in Art Wave 1, which was their Windblade is by far my favourite iteration of her. She's the Windblade I wanted, because she's a really cool character. She's the city speaker. She's supposed to be hard. She's very good at fighting. And the Wizards ones were a bit crap.
In the nicest way possible, yeah.
They were though. They were rubbish. Yeah. The starter date one's terrible. Like, it's not even worth paying 5 stars for it. And the Combiner Hunter, too niche.
Yeah,
too narrow.
You get it to complete a collection.
Yes, which is why I have one. So yeah, like later in the design process, Ozzy had a really, really cool idea about adding the other Caymans that we had, Chromia, Nautica, and Novastar, to the stratagem. And like, I was kind of, I don't know. But then Ozzy bashed the card up on MSC very quickly. It's like, look, it doesn't look horrible. Because I was very, very mindful, as much as Adam's going to get sick of me saying
Adam's going to hate us. We know it's coming.
It's like some of the Bayformers cards are very, very wordy, because if you have this, or this. And I was very mindful that I didn't want a card with a wall of text. But when it's actually, it's quite text heavy on the card, particularly with the reminder text. But it did feel right to give it to them.
Yeah.
So there's Camian Grace. It draws a card and it gives you Focus 1. It's just a good ability. Now, there's going to be some questions asked as to why it wasn't blue.
Yes.
And there's a reason for that, because it was originally blue.
Here we go.
There's a reason why it didn't turn into a white pip, because we discussed this a lot. And in the end, I was like, it's just going to be orange. Because Arc Windblade can't have more easy access.
That was it, simple.
It was, exactly. You can't, if Arc Windblade flips more cards, she is more likely to trigger. If she has blue pips, she's more likely to defend and take less damage. She, on average, takes us about 6 attacks to kill. So bear that in mind. That's why it's an orange pip. What do you think, mate? Because I love the card. I just love it. For me, this isn't a, like, yeah, you could play a different utility. You could play acute reflex. You could play different things. But for me, this was theme, first and foremost, and the artwork is sublime.
Yeah, I have to agree with everything you say, Dave. It's super theme. I think the funniest thing about this is when people are considering about adding our sets to tournaments or anything like that, if other sets are going to make Chromias, Nauticas, Novastars, or even more Windblades, this can be really interesting. Just having the ability to draw a card and Focus 1, I think that's pretty strong, just saying. And yeah, it's Windblade, man. What can I say? Metroplex is honey. What can I say?
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I've got to say.
So that's Kami and Grace, one of my personal faves in the set. So yeah, next up, Lee, what have we got?
Right, so the next card we have is Combat Drop. It is a secret action. It's a black pip. And it states, reveal when one of your plane, helicopters, or spaceship characters defends. When revealed, flip that character to bot mode. It gets +1 attack until the end of battle.
+1 defense.
Yeah. Now, this is a really cool card. It was created by Sean Samuels, one of the guys in our Old Punks team. I love this card just because it works so well with so many planes, helicopters, and spaceships, because you flip to bot mode and most of the time you get to do triggers and other fun shenanigans, which is pretty cool. The first ones that scream off my head, you now have scary Astrotrain. Just saying, is all, guys. If you think about that with our stratagem, that's kind of scary. It's just really cool. I really, really like it. And again, artwork. Look at that, man. You don't want those two women swinging giant swords at you, man. That's terrifying. Dave, your thoughts?
Yeah, again, it's giving a bit of support to some of the tribes that maybe needed a bit more help. Yeah, there's some really powerful spaceships out there. Let's face it, Major Shockwave is pretty darn good. Jetfire, Wave 1 Jetfire loves this. Arc Windblade likes this. And she's on the card for, she likes this card because she can flip back and get the top 5 cards and look at them and get action and an upgrade into your hand. They're like, great, she's exposed, I'm going to attack her. And you're like, oh, combat drop. So it's really good. And again, that's going back to Kami and Grace, which is just talking about, we were very mindful to not push Arc Windblade too far in one direction. And +1 defense, it's good, but again, the black pip, the dreaded black pip, can just make that part of it relevant. It's more like that extra flip. And thanks, Sean, for designing. Sean's one of my local players, one of my good friends at board games and stuff. Sean's one of the Plymouth crowd, so thank you, man, for designing a card for the set.
Yep, super cool card. Okay, Dave, number 5.
This is another cool card. Again, a lot of this art was just drawn from the comics. As I was reading through them, like that would make it a really beautiful card. And this is a really nice piece of artwork, and this is called Contemplation, and it's an Autobot action. It's a white pip, and it reads, scrap up to 3 cards from your hand. Draw a card for each card scrapped this way, and if you began the game with only Autobots, plan 1. And it's an uncommon. Again, we were quite mindful that we didn't put too many monsters into Junkion, so there's not that many commons in the set, but this one's an uncommon. Kind of inspired. There's a lot of similar-ish white card draw cards. You've got System Reboot, you've got Fog of War, you've got Equipment Enthusiast, and one of the other ones, one of the more budget ones, was Backup Plan from Wave 1, which had a really horrific cost of like scrapping your entire hand. So if you actually had cards in your hand, you're like, I don't know if I want to do this. So Contemplation is designed to be like a filter thing. So I've got some duds, I've got an improvised shield in my hand, I've got some cards that aren't relevant now. I can filter those away and just draw into some more cards, and you can control how much you scrap from your hand rather than being forced to scrap all of it. So that was kind of the thing. And to make it feel Autobot, because it's Optimus Prime, it gained the plan clause as well. So if you draw, say for example you're playing orange and you draw into that double orange card, you're like, well, I don't actually want this in my hand, I'm now going to put it back on top of my deck.
Yeah, I love Contemplation, not just because of the awesome ability it has for Autobots. It's such a theme card for Autobots because just the card title in itself, it describes the whole process of the Autobots, especially with some of the decisions Prime has to make in the comics, in the TV show, no matter what, or any of the other characters, whether you think of it as Springer and, dare I say, some of the Wreckers with some of their choices. It just feels right. Like, it's just super theme, on point, and the artwork sells the card just like Prime. I just wish maybe someone can meme this card and just put a skull in it and just be like a scene from Hamlet with Optimus Prime. That's all I'm saying.
It does feel very much like that.
Thou art struggling with Megatron. You know, that's what I feel. That's what I feel right now.
Absolutely. So that's Contemplation.
Okay. All right. So number 6 is Corrupt Construction. Love this card, not just because I designed it. This card is straight up money, and I'll tell you why. It's black and green pips, guys. Had to be a green pip. Come on. If it wasn't a green pip, Constructicons green. You see what I'm doing? Yeah. Cool beans. Right. It's an action. And it states, one of your Constructicons gets +2 attack until the end of turn, and then puts a height counter on your tower. That is the key bit to it, but it's also so versatile, this card. So, obviously, playing Constructicons, you want to build the tower. When we were playtesting it, obviously, our final result, you get no height counters. So, what you can do on certain turns is your builder's tools, you're scrapping cards to add height tokens to it. You play Corrupt Construction, you're getting the tower higher and higher. Okay, you might not hit 10 right off the bat possibly, and you can form into Devastator and go rampant. One of the funniest things people sometimes forget is, oh yeah, you know, Devastator, he's a Constructicon. So this card continues its value with Devastator, giving him +2 attack and adding more height counters. So maybe you're not at 10 yet, and then you play this and go, oh, I'm only hitting you for 6. Okay, my height counter goes up to 10. I go to 10 attack. Oh my gosh, and then I get +2. So I'm hitting you for 12, and I haven't played any upgrades yet. That's a bit of a big swing in attacks. It's so useful, this card. I absolutely love it. And I know we spoilt it in the Facebook groups, and people love this card. And it was so nice to hear the outpours of this is awesome, this is great, and I just want to say thank you to all those people who did, because you know who you are, and it means a lot to me from some of the people that mentioned and commented on it. Like, it really hit me that day of going like, I'm doing something right with this set, so that's good.
Absolutely. It's definitely a powerful tool in their arsenal, and like you say, it's useful pre and post combine. It's a good they needed something like this. Its initial iteration didn't have the black pip. It was a mono pip card, and it was literally put a high counter on your tower, but we just didn't feel it. We felt it didn't do enough to warrant inclusion in the Constructicon build, so we went for making a slightly more powerful card and really giving them a bit of a kick, as it were. You know, They are definitely playable now. And this is one of the linchpins. Like, if you're playing Constructicons and you want to use our cards, this is a playset of.
Yes,
like the other 2 battle cards, you can tweak the numbers. This is definitely a playset of, and it was designed with that intent.
100%, because it's just the value of. I think it was the value of Devastator as well, because we didn't want it just to fade away. Like, I feel like when it's the other cards, sometimes they just were like, meh, it doesn't really work. Like with this, just keeps pumping up the guy to just go in and just break face, which, you know, Devastator loves doing. So
definitely. So that's Corrupt Construction.
Oh, Dave, the controversial, amazing, awesome card that you and me both love, and everyone should just be like, shh.
Exactly. This, I talked about this again. I'm going to just skim over this very, very quickly.
So good. This card, I love it.
So this was in the press release, and this is Die Autobots. It's a blue Decepticon action, and it reads: choose one of your Decepticons. It gets +2 attack until the end of turn, and choosing an enemy Autobot, it gets -2 defense until the end of turn. Controversial. This is obviously inspired by Press the Advantage, which is the Autobot action, which had a green pip. That was, as far as I'm concerned, that's what made Press the Advantage busted. And Adam has printed United Against Tyranny. I said this in the press release. With the inclusion of that card in the card pool that I play with regularly, I felt that there needed to be a counterbalance. And that's where Die Autobots came in. And also, Aiden is my amazing little lad who plays Transformers as well. He's 7. He's like, Daddy, you need to make a card called Die Autobots. So I did.
It's pretty funny how adamant he was like, it needs to be that line that Megatron yells. And he chose the artwork, right?
He did.
Yeah, see, cool guy. He isn't a Decepticon though, guys. I think he's an Autobot lawyer.
He definitely is an Autobot, because he definitely But saying that, at the moment, his flavour of the week is, or flavour of the month rather, is Bruticus.
So he's still a Merc then. So he's all right then.
So he's still a Merc. So that's Die Autobots. So, you know, like, I think the card's great. It's definitely one of the more powerful battle cards in the set. But I think if you're playing against people that are running Bayformers and stuff like that, it's a good card. And if you go up against an all Decepticon team, it's actually less good than Leap into Battle. So there's a balance there. What do you think, Bud?
I love it. I agree with everything you say 100%. Press was only a problem because of green. If it didn't have green, I don't think it would be a problem as much. But because it was around for so long, I assumed I wanted to at least have a press for Decepticons because it seemed only fair, but that never came. And then they eventually banned.
They just got rid of it
because they were like, oh yeah, this is silly. And just like, yeah, it pretty much is. But yeah, I love it. I love this card. But then again, I love my Decepticons, so I can't really...
You do. But that's Die Autobots, guys. And yeah, it's very, very good. But it fills that position. I think if you're playing Bayformers, it definitely is that counterbalance to that card. So the next one, this is we've had a couple from the preview, haven't we? So
we most definitely have. So this is electrostatic shielding. This was created by Nezumi, aka Rich, one of the founding fathers of the Turbo Revving Old Punks. It's a white pip. It's a secret action, and it states reveal when one of your characters defends, and when revealed, each black pip your opponent flips this battle is a white pip instead. Now, Rich kind of covered it, and it makes a lot of sense. This was just to basically have Jazz's ability on a card, but also give the middle finger to black, because that color, dare we say, or the pip, just destroyed the game. It made it so oppressive, and Rich put it like best in our overview video. It can just be so heartening when you're like, oh, I defended so well. Oh, wait a minute, how much Pierce? Oh, that is just absolute balls sometimes, and it can be very aggressive. So
it did, and it definitely shunted control archetypes out the format. And we've been careful when we've been doing stuff, and I know that the Arc and Bayformers and ATP have been very sparing, because you don't want to push it back into Blue Wall Central, but equally, those blue decks do deserve a place in the game, and to have blue just be made completely irrelevant by the black pit didn't seem fair. And this was, I believe, inspired by End Hostilities from Wave 5, which is a very, very good card. And this just seemed like the perfect mirror to that. It's doing, the black pit's becoming white and the orange with become blue with End Hostility. So it's a simple card, but it's a very, very good card, and it fills a role in certain archetypes.
Oh, 100%. It just stops Black Pierce so well. And there's ways around that now, guys. So we just wanted to add something to the mix to basically go, do you hate the Black Pip too? Join the campaign. Effectively, in the nicest way possible.
That's it. Let's end that Pierce nightmare. At least make it so you can play with the rest of your cards. So the next one...
Yeah.
So this was on way back when we did a spoiler, and this card has remained unchanged from when we previously spoiled it. It stayed the same, and this is the Enhanced Fusion Cannon, the blue-green Decepticon upgrade weapon, which is put on Megatron only, and it's Pierce 2 +2 attack. It's a permanent Scoundrel's Blaster, but for Megatron only, so it's always piercing all the time. I don't think we talked a lot in the spoiler video ages ago about it. It hasn't changed, has it? It's just remained the same, because I think functionally it does what we wanted the Fusion Cannon to do.
It's so consistent across the board with all the Megatrons. Some people might say it pushes some of them, up there very much for damage output, but then, my personal opinion, you're looking at the Megatrons in the high teen, like low teen numbers, like 13, 12, those kind of numbers. You're running this, it's going to make them hit hard. But even the ones that are 10 or lower, it's very consistent. Like starter Megatron loves this and is terrifying. Seeming we just hate Pierce. This makes that starter Megatron that people sometimes might have forgotten for 10 stars hit like a freight train. like
the common one from Wave 1, isn't it?
100%.
The thing is, his gun's powered by a black hole. It should hurt people.
It should.
Not tickle them.
No,
it should
not
hurt
at all.
them.
He inherited that cannon, so,
He did.
He did.
So that's that one. what's the next? Oh, this is a fun
spice.
one.
This is a fun one. Okay, this got recently spoiled as well on the Facebook groups. This is Secret Action number 10. This is Evasive Action. Love the name of this card. It is an orange pip with a plane trait in it. And the Secret Action states, reveal when one of your planes, helicopters, or spaceships would take attack damage. When revealed, instead, that character takes that much damage, or that much attack damage, -2. Now, if I'm right in saying this, Dave, the numbers changed a fair few times on this, didn't it, for how much damage was minused?
Yeah. I think it started at -1, and it wasn't good enough. And then we tried it at -3, and it was too good. So middle ground.
Middle ground.
Middle ground of 2. It is very good, but they have to be in that mode. It's just another nice option. It also gives you a bit of Secret Action diversity when you're building your deck, and also can flummox your opponent as to what you've got down, because there are cards like Counter Your Espionage that interact with Secret Actions. So if they know you're only playing Evasive Action, then they're going to call it right every time. But if you're playing Combat Drop as well, and you've got lots of different strategies and different Secret Actions, it's good. It's solid. Like, it's very no frills. It just prevents 2 damage that's going to be dealt to your guys on the attack, which can sometimes keep those players like Acid Storm in for another turn, like the Airstrike Patrol in for another turn. It's a good card. I like it.
Yeah, it's super cool. And I think, like we've already put in this set, like Combat Drop and Evasive Actions, obviously you guys can tell we want to put planes, helicopters, and spaceships on the table. Come on. We wanted to give them a little bit of support, and I feel this card does really, really well. And funny enough, both Secret Actions. Hey, Dave.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I can't wait to see this across the board and go like, oh, there's a Secret Action that someone designed.
Yeah. That's what fool designed this.
Oh, what madness. Right, so number 11.
Card 11. So we're just over the halfway line.
We're halfway there.
Indeed. Living on a prayer, mate.
Living on a prayer, mate.
So this card is a action called Fearless. It's a blue melee pip. One of your melee characters gets +2 attack until the end of turn. Repair a damage from it. Just solid. There's a lot of good melee characters out there. We know that. We know Fangry exists. We know Horrible exists. So we're very mindful. And we've tested it at different stat lines. And it was something completely different to start with. So it's evolved. And we feel like it's like, Repair Bay meets Steady Shot kind of thing. Somewhere in the middle, which is why it's got that trait pip to make it less attractive if you're playing a mixed trait team. So it can actually be quite detrimental, because effectively if you're not playing all melee characters, it's a blank. So yeah, I
love this card. I have to agree with you, Dave. It went through several iterations. I know this card was straight up money with our lovely promo Nightbird, and that was why we probably needed to change a few things as well, because she was hitting very consistently with Fearless, which I was like, cool, she's a ninja, she should be fearless. But it needed to be tweaked because Dave mentioned it. There's 2 mother truckers out there.
The dumb guys.
You're dumb.
Those guys that ruin melee characters for life. So I think that's one thing we were very, very courteous of with our whole design process in general.
Yeah, it's a good card. It is solid, and it adds something to that melee archetype. It helps Cars out as well. A lot of Cars are melee. It's cool. We know it helped Brawn out. Brawn's a melee character, and he's a tough little git. So that's Fearless, card number 11. What's card 12, mate?
Card number 12 is Foreman's Ingenuity. Another one that I spoil, and I freaking love this card. This is the controversial card where told everyone to jog on what I originally wanted it to be. I wanted it to be more of a, should we say, demonic shooter that got shut down immediately. And it was like, Lee, you're being dumb.
You're dumb.
And I was like, yes, I might be. But I didn't realize that for like a week and a half straight, going like, nah, man, it's not that bad. But anyway, Foreman's Ingenuity is an orange pip. It is an action, and it states, play only if your starting team was all Constructicons. So there's the first limitation to this. Your starting team has to be all Constructicons. Then, the second paragraph is, return a Builder's Tools, Constructicon Enigma, Heavy Landing, or Reclaim from your scrap pile to hand. So like we stated with the stratagem, this is one where it rewards you for playing theme hugely with the Constructicons, because obviously Builder's Tools increases that tower. Constructicon Enigma, blatantly, you need that to get bigger. Heavy Landing, such a game-changing card. That card is so strong. And so is Reclaim, funny enough. Reclaim is incredible. To just, get a weapon and just put it on the top of your deck is incredible. But then here's the kicker, which is really cool. If your tower is 6 or higher, you may play that card. So again, with the Constructicons, this, when you're almost getting to combining, can be incredibly powerful. When you're the Big Daddy himself, this card is hilariously ball busting because you could just play a Heavy Landing. It is very, very strong, and that has happened multiple times in testing, just to let you guys all know. But that is the downside to it. You have to have a tower of 6 or higher to play that card. But the benefit of returning a card to hand is super strong. But the downside is counter-espionage and espionage and hand disruption in general lives out there. So they can royally hurt you. And that is one of the downsides to this card. But also at the same time, this is an incredibly cool theme, powerful card for the Constructicons.
Definitely. Well, you kind of touched all the bases, It's a bit of insurance for some of the cards that were quite, against, you just said hand disruption. If they get rid of your Enigma, you're like, oh God, what am I going to do now? This gives you a chance to get it back if it's still in the scrap pile and still combine and not be absolutely wrecked from that hand disruption that's just been played on you. Yeah, it is good. You've got to get your tower to 6, which is feasible now. We did have it originally without the tower thing. It was just like you return it to your hand. There was no, then you may play that card. And I think when we were playtesting it, it just didn't feel good enough. It felt like, I don't want to give up my action play for the turn on returning something to my hand. I want to be able to use it at the same time. So unless it was Builder's Tools you were bringing back, the other 3 cards you couldn't then play, which is why we added that extra layer to the card at the bottom. But no, it's cool. It's, it's good. It works with them. And it, again, like you said, Lee, it allows you to be thematic with the Constructicons and play with their signature cards from the pre-constructed deck.
Yeah, and that's one thing I think when we designed this card was we immediately were like, let's bring to shine the cards that came with that box set, because you would only play, let's be honest, probably 2 of these cards, but with this it kind of rewards you for doing it. So it's super theme. I love this card. Heavy Landing someone when you're Devastator and then going in and punching them. Oh, it's so rewarding because you're like, I don't think I can kill this person. Oh, that Heavy Landing can do it though. Oh my gosh.
It's definitely a good late game play. And that's because it is quite powerful late game, is why it doesn't have a green pip. As much as we wanted the Constructicon cards to be green, to match their lovely paint scheme, we decided that it would be too good.
Way too
good with the green pip, which is why it doesn't have it. The next card, this is a later addition to the set. We had a couple of cards pulled late in the day, and they were for creative reasons that we're not happy where these are. And this card was designed by our good friend Matifer, who helps out at the 11th hour to keep the cards at the number that we said were going to be in there, which was 20. So this card is Impetuous Stand. It is a action. It has a white pip and a green pip, so very, very playable there in lots of archetypes. It reads, put an enemy upgrade on the bottom of its owner's deck. That player draws a card. So it's inspired, I think, by Disassemble from Wave 5. It is very good because it is any upgrade, but they're getting a card back for it. So we wanted something that, again, helped against cards like Triplating, helped against characters that had sort of that inbuilt recursion mechanic to it, and that's what Matifer was going for here. He's like, I've got this card, I'm happy for you guys to have it in the set. So that's what it was. There's an Easter egg on this as well. I'm going to let the viewers and listeners look at the card. Listeners, when you get time, go and look on the card images and see if you can work out what the Easter egg is. I don't think Lee knows what the Easter egg is either.
No. I like this card just for simple things. It's another way of putting a card in your deck that basically goes, get rid of those annoying utilities. Get rid of, your pocket processors. Get rid of that extra health, Just get rid of the stuff I don't like. Like it can get rid of multiple different things on a person. Also, if you have the hilarious right play at the right time, you can get like some hilarious plays where you can get rid of multiple upgrades in one turn. And this is just another way of doing it, which is phenomenal. Just saying.
It's a very, very good piece of removal. There's already a lot of removal out there, but the fact that your opponent draws a card kind of provides some counterbalance to it. I think it's a good card though. It's definitely up there with one of the best cards in the set. I think for versatility, it goes in a lot of archetypes.
Yeah, 100%. Right, moving on to number 14. Rage is the name of this card. This was designed by Sean Samuels and Dave. It's an orange pip. It's an upgrade utility. Put on a melee character only. It gives you bold 1, and when the upgraded character becomes tapped, do 1 damage to a tapped enemy. This is money with our lovely little girl. Oh, it's just so good. So good with Nightbird. It's so good. It's like an auto-include kind of with like melee characters. Obviously, we live in a world where melee characters are scary, and we shouldn't be afraid of that in a whole creative design process. Immediately, people are saying, oh my god, that's going to look so good on Fangry. Oh my god, that's going to look so good on Horrible. Sure, but we live in a world with those things, and we can't let those things take away from what we want to do as creators. We got to come to terms with it, and I think some cards shouldn't block people's original ideas behind this. So, Dave, thoughts?
Yeah,
you're one of your bad boys.
Well, Sean came up with a core idea, and we just mold it over, and we did some tweaking. It's just a beautiful piece of art from the comic. Like, Megatron, poor Swerve, just woke him up, and he got very angry about it. So it's, like you say, you can't live in. Horrible and Fangry and some other horrible characters exist. We know they exist. You can't live in fear. You can't, again, with the tri-pip card we talked about, you can't live in fear of certain things, because most people on a casual level are able to regulate the power of their decks and not... It's a great mantra that I've always tried to aspire to when playing games. Don't be a dick. Just don't. Yeah, you can make Horrible even more horrible. He didn't really need any more help, but like if you're playing a casual kitchen table game, I wouldn't really expect to see Horrible on that table. It's effective, but it can only go on the melees, and the damage has to go to a tapped enemy. So if this is on you and it's just been the wheel turn and you're attacking first as your last character, it doesn't actually do anything because if they're untapped. So there is like some balance to it as well. Yeah,
I love Rage. Rage is so fun. This was nothing but money in my Snapdragon Nightbird, and I forget the other character. I know it was another mercenary. I want to say it was. I could be wrong. It was someone who was definitely melee. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, it was nothing but money. I absolutely loved it. So, moving on then. Number 15. Oh, Dave, this is a card.
Yeah. Again, this has gone through several iterations. This is Rapid Response Cycle, a utility with a white pip, and the upgraded character has the motorcycle trait. It's Chrome Dome riding a bike on Cybertron. So, like, they obviously, when they can't be bothered to transform and drive around themselves, they get on their bikes, because obviously their bikes are cool. When the upgraded character defends against an enemy that has more stars on it, the upgraded character gets +1 defense, and it grants a native +1 defense as well. So if you put it on those little 5-star motorbikes, or even just little 5-star guys, you don't have to be motorbikes, it can be other characters, and you can give them the motorbike trait, and then start using some of the cool Bayformers cards like Sidecar Artillery. It's just fun, and for me, creatively, I wanted something that represents their nippy and fast and hard to hit, which is why against a bigger lumbering character they get the extra armor. What do you think?
I think deep down, all of us love the bikes in this game. We love Chromia, we love Flame War, or we hate Flame War. It depends on what side of the fence you fall on. We love RC. It's just one of those cards where you're just like, the motorbike trait never got a lot of love. And there is a lot of motorbike cards out there now that can really make this shine. I've been, before the end of like playtesting, I was running it, and getting a turn where you can just casually attack with 2 of the characters because of that other white pip card, that other bike card, what is it?
Pop a wheelie.
Pop a wheelie, and giving a random card who isn't a motorbike, gaining the motorbike trait to just go, yeah, pop a wheelie, I'm just going to attack with my big guy and then this little guy. You're like, oh, that's a thing. And that's a good swing in a game as well. And it's making you play older cards that probably didn't get a lot of love.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the goal of it. And again, it's another one of the comic covers. It's a really nice piece of art. You know, Chromie on his motorbike. So, yeah, that's Rapid Response Cycle, card number 15. Card number 16. Oh, this when this was submitted to us, I'm like, of course he made a card like this.
Of course he had to, but it just had to be included because of the name. So this is number 16. This is Revving the Engine. Obviously, we're the Turbo Revving Old Punks. It is designed by our good friend Matt for one of the forefathers of this group. It is a orange and green pip, and the car tray is in the green pip. It is an action, and one of your cars gets +1 attack until the end of turn. If this is the 3rd Revving the Engine you have played this turn, one of your characters can attack untapped characters this turn as though they were tapped. You may play another Revving the Engine. Now, just process that. You get to untap. You get to attack an untapped character. That's incredibly strong. Problem is, you need to have 3 of these bad boys in your hand. There are ways of getting this to go off. Cars has always been a very interesting, fun format. And of course, Matt designed it because he loves cars. And of course, it had to have Sideswipe. It just feels right. It just feels right to have it in this set. And, you know, we want to have cards in this set that people double look and go, holy cow, that's a really, really cool card. And I feel like this is definitely one of them. Dave, your thoughts?
When he submitted the card, I was like, of course it's a car card. Like you say, you've just said it, all the same things, like Sideswipes on everything. It's a really, really great collector card, along the veins of Focus Fire, Extra Padding, Attack Drone. Nothing's going to stand in our way from Art Wave 1. So it's kind of following on those lines. It's got a slight drawback in the fact you have to be a car to pick it up. So if you flip to bot mode, you can't pick it up. So there's a risk. And you've kind of got to weigh that. Like, do I transform to draw a card with Cliff Jumper? And then risk not hitting the Revving the Engine. So like if you've got 1 or 2 of these in your hand, you might be more tempted to not flip the attacking character into bot mode that turn. And sometimes their alt mode attacks are lower. So I really like it. It's like Supporting Fire is a really good card. A legendary Bumblebee from Wave 1, the super rare, had this, you know, when he flips back. So you don't see it on very many cards. So we had to make a card that was definitely, you were rewarded for collecting it, and it was an investment. So you're basically waiting, and your opponent can see it coming. So if they know you've picked up 1 Revving the Engine, and they've got counter espionage, sad pandas.
Yep, sad pandas indeed.
It's balanced.
It is.
It is balanced. I'm not saying it's not good, because it is, but there is that balance to it, and particularly you've got to weigh up whether you're going to be in bot mode when attacking.
And it rewards
But no, great
you.
card, Matt. Thank you. Again, he really has been a source of, as have several other members of the ARC as well, like not just Matt, but like we're really, really good friends with the ARC, and just their input to the set, even at a casual level, just want to like showing them stuff, and I'm like, no. or yes, or I'd like to help with this. And, you know, Matt's given us 3 battle cards and a stratagem as guest things to show our closeness with the, you know, we want to be part of the community and work with the other content creators out there, particularly with Adam from Bayformers, who's very, very keen on crossplay, and the Arc as well, who obviously working in partnership with Bayformers. So it made sense that we work closely with them.
100%. Supercar, super theme, and, well, it's got revving in the title. Just saying is all.
It was a no-brainer. So the next card, this is the final card, I believe, that Matifa submitted. This is Robust. It's a upgrade armor, it's a green pip, and this can be in a weapon or utility slot +1 defense, and it's a common, so it's a Junkion playable again, for those people that like playing Junkion as a format, because it's like effectively Transformers Pauper. It's the, for me, this card is the reverse of Sharpened Talons from Wave 5, which was basically a primary laser with a green pip. This is an armoured plating with a green pip, but it's slightly more interesting than armoured plating because it can go into the, probably more commonly the utility slot, but there might be times where you need that extra point of defence and you don't have a weapon, and you pop it in your weapon slot. What do you think,
This
mate?
is super cool, and it's super diverse because obviously the green pip opens up a load of cool options for where can I put it in my builds. Also, the fact is, it can be put in a weapon or utility slot. Like, you can have a tank mode, like, beyond belief with this. Like, if you think about it, just because we've given a lot of love to tanks in this set, you just basically can just tank a lot with a lot of armor and then just casually be like, yeah, I'll just put this one over here. It's fine, because I can put it wherever. And it's also really interesting for the little guys as well. Like, you just giving them 1 extra defense for a utility slot they're probably not going to use. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, we mentioned it earlier. Like, just thinking off the top of my head, the cassettes, like for Blaster, Soundwave, whatever, these guys love it just because you can put it in a utility slot or a weapon slot and just basically like bulk up. Think of like Ravage, but at the same time, Pierce is a thing. But I love this card, and it is robust.
It is.
See what? It is.
It is very robust. It's it's a great card. You know, it just, that common card, it's very simple in its design, but it's actually way more interesting than it actually looks at first glance, because it doesn't look that exciting, but the fact you can put it in other places makes it very, very versatile. So I'm a big fan.
100%. Right, moving on to number 18. We talked about this a few episodes ago in our sneaky spoiler session of our set. Scatter Blaster. It is a weapon. It is a white pip. It gives you +1 attack, but in the text box it says, while the upgraded attacker is attacking a melee character, the upgraded character gets +2 attack. So effectively, this was designed for punching those douchebags, melee canchers.
The dumb characters.
The dumb characters is the nicest way of putting it. That's right.
You're dumb.
But yeah, obviously on the artwork it's Chromia. Obviously Chromia loves white pips. Obviously, this is a situational card. We've said it in our spoiler thing. But, you know, everyone knows shotguns are bitchin', and it rewards you for getting up close and personal with those melee characters just with a shotgun. Because why not? Dave?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's there's nothing really much more to add. We did talk about this in the spoiler a few episodes ago. It's changing rarity, I think, is the only thing that's changed, because it was on par with Soldier's Blaster.
Yeah,
from Wave 4, which was also a common. So it didn't really make sense to have a higher thing. So again, for those people that like the Pauper or Junkion, you've got a new toy. So yeah, that's Scatter Blaster. Card number 19. This is the last of the Constructicon cards.
Yes, it is. But the last one that I really love this card, just saying.
It's cool. It's a Decepticon action, isn't it? It's Towering Presence. White pip. This was spoiled today at time of recording, which is the 27th of June. It's an action. One of your Constructicons gets bowled 2 until the end of turn. If you have a Devastator Towering Warrior on the battlefield, tap an enemy character that has 14 stars or fewer. So again, it's kind of like with Corrupt Construction, where Corrupt Construction didn't have the +2 attack at the beginning. This didn't have the Bold 2 clause. And it was like, well, this is a bit duff pre-combine. So we wanted something that was playable all game round. So giving Bold 2 just help you chip a bit more damage away with them. And also, if you're combining at the point where you've not... Because Constructicons are quite small, aren't they, Lee? They've got very tiny attacks.
Yeah.
And if you don't draw your weapons, they generally don't kill things. So quite often, Devastator's outnumbered. So it was kind of cool to give them the ability to tap down the 14 stars or less, which means they can tap down the big boys like Prime, Major Shockwave. But they can't tap down other combiners because obviously they don't tower over them.
No.
So that was, I think, your design intent, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. This guy is a monster, and if you saw him, you would either run away or you just casually be like, I'm dead. Just because Dave and me love All Hail Megatron, there's just a casual throwaway line that Devastator destroyed Tokyo. Like, we just straight up Godzilla Tokyo. Immediately, I was like, I want a card like that. Like, he can just make people just really be, like, upset. So, obviously, one of our first iterations of it, we were like, what could be really interesting? And then we were inspired a little bit by talking to Matt for a little bit about his Omega Supreme stuff that he did. Obviously, because I was like, I really want to make Constructicons and Devastator legit. And we had a look, and then I was like, I really like the ability of tapping something, because when you're a combiner, most of the time is... When you combine to Devastator, you've got a bit of a wide board that you're going to be going against, and they're always going to send a chump blocker in. If you play this at the right time, you can tap their big boy they're probably keeping back, and then just basically backhanding him to oblivion. And that's what I wanted. And it took a few, like we said, it took a few tests and tweaks, but I love this card. It's super cool, and yeah, the artwork just... Brett the Hitman Hart just keeps screaming with those shades, bruv, just saying.
He does.
So good.
He really does. And yeah, like, we gave a lot of support to Constructicons, and I think we've done them proud. I think we've made them a playable entity through the battle cards and the stratagem. So we hope you like what we've done, because the fans, a lot of people were like really gutted by Devastator, and I think we've put him in a position where he can really shine.
Yeah, and have a lot of fun with him, because he is fun now, guys. He's not frustrating, like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. If you build it correctly, like Dave and me consistently with different builds, we can definitely say we've got him to 10 tower quite quickly before combining.
The possibility is there. The possibility is there to make the tower relevant, to not be wrecked by having them all dead. You've got some really powerful tools in your arsenal now. You've got 3 new battle cards to supplement the ones that Wizards gave us. You've got a new stratagem to just make him on a similar power level to some of the other combiner teams from Wave 2, because he was definitely well below that previously.
100%.
So that's Towering Presence. You've got the last card. This is battle card number 20.
We're here. We're at the end of the set, guys, and we're kicking it. We're going to finish it with a bit of a bang. I like this card. This is called Trilithium Drill. It is a blue pip. It's an upgrade weapon. Gives you +1 attack. And when the upgraded character attacks, plan 2. And when you put a card from your hand on top of your deck, the upgraded character gets Pierce 1 until the end of turn. This was designed by Jared, aka Rogue247. And what we wanted to do was basically do a mining pick, but a drill. And then give it a Pierce 1, because it's a drill. It's going to hurt a lot more than a pick.
Yeah. I think it's a really nice, subtle card as well. Like, it is just the mirror image. You know, you look at Magic the Gathering, they quite often do that with cards. They'll have, like, in a different color, they'll have, like, a similar card that's kind of flipped. And that's kind of what we did here, like what Jared did with the drill, was to make it a reverse of the mining pick. And I think it's cool. Blue decks, because if you're playing a blue archetype, if you're playing that controlling blue build, like, you sometimes struggle to get the damage through. So if you can tandem this with your Energon axe, your laser cutlasses, you've got another blue pip weapon that can generate pierce.
Yeah, and I really like it, just because obviously it has a different purpose to mining pick. Just because obviously mining pick is you put a card from your hand on top, you get +1 attack. With this, you get the pierce, which just makes sense. It's really cool. And yeah, like you said, it basically helps out blue decks. And then if you wanted to run mine, you could go full construction and go drill and pick. Why not? Let's go crazy. You know.
Yeah, plan. Who knows what the plan is for plan moving forward?
Well, we're trying to push plan with more plan shenanigans. Like, that was terrible, but yeah, there.
It was. That was awful.
So
there we are. We're at the end. It's another marathon. There are always marathons, but particularly this is our set. So we're obviously going to wax lyrical a little bit more on the cards because we're really, really passionate about the project we've put together. I personally think after 4 months of playtesting, we've got something I'm proud to release. I think with help from Mike and Adam and all the playtesters and all the card designers, we've worked hard for 4 months, and the passion of the community has really been injected into the set, and I cannot thank you all enough. I've got a little treat coming for you when the order arrives. Let's put it that way. So thank you Lee, for putting up with me, my endless messages about cards changing and this, that, and the other.
Good. Yeah, I feel like what this set has is embodied what Dave and me and this podcast are all about. Like, we're all about the community, and with the Turbo Revving Old Punks, it's all about, we want it to be fun, theme, and it's evolved from just, hey, let's play games, to, oh, let's create cards, and then people from the community jumping in and helping us, and then we're just evolving more and more people in the community, and that's exactly what Dave and me are all about, because this game has a fantastic community. People literally are willing to give up their time to help us out. Like, this set looks like hot shit. It looks incredible. I am so happy that people have helped us. Like, I can't put it into words. Dave, me, Rich, Matt, I know our forefathers here, we're over the moon with it. And the problem is now, looking at this set, phase 2, dude, we've got to beat it.
I know.
In a way, the bar has been set, and do we keep it at the same bar or raise it? I don't know, but like we stated at the beginning, we are coming out with little things beforehand to give sweet little like love to certain characters and stuff. We got some stuff obviously lined up, like with our community live streams we want to do, and some other fun stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff coming from the Turbo Revving Old Punks.
Definitely.
And it's only going to get bigger, and this is just the jumping on point. And if you're jumping on now, mate, the future is looking promising for us. It's dope.
Definitely. It's crazy to think that we started as just 4 friends playing via webcam on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
And it's evolved into this. I'm humbled by everybody that's participated. So I hope everyone else out there enjoys the set. I'm looking forward to doing phase 2. I'm also looking forward to a break. And also, I think I've taken a very heavy lead on the design of this first phase, because I just had these loads of ideas. But we've got more people on board now. We've got more ideas flowing. And phase 2 will be more designer diverse, I think, is probably the right way to say it. It's going to be more people involved in that design process. So I'm probably going to take a little bit more of a backseat from a design aspect, but I will still be there playtesting. But that's later this year.
I feel like the best thing about it is it's fun. And this is a whole fun process, even though it can be frustrating sometimes. And I can gladly say I definitely come on to like, yeah, let's do cards. That's cool. And I literally came on at the end when everyone's like, Lee, you've not done nothing. Like, you've been playtesting for other groups and doing podcasts and doing other things. You haven't created a card yet. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've got to do that. Whoops. Let's figure that out, shall we? So it was kind of cool coming on at the end of the whole thing, or should we say like probably 2 months into it, to go, yeah, I need to do something now. This is getting more than just like we're hanging out and talking. No, this thing is getting a lot of traction, and we don't want it to slow down. So that's the whole idea with other cards that are coming out and with the live streams and other stuff, so we can be relevant, and we want to not fade away. We just want to keep doing this cool stuff with the community, and we want to be a part of the community and embrace people to just basically keep on designing and becoming more and more creative, because I think some of the cards where we were like, oh, that would be really cool, and then where they're at now is like, holy cow, that's even cooler than I thought it was going to be. That's like, wow. Like, and I think that's really cool when it comes to a design aspect of things, is when someone's willing to just go, well, I think that's really cool, but it probably could be cooler if we did this. And then you basically take that and just run with it and be open to change and open to do stuff. It's super freaking cool, and I love it. I love some of my cards. I love everyone's cards. This set is sick. I think you should all like download it now. It's in the link on YouTube, on the link on iTunes, and also on Podbean or wherever you are downloading or listening this to. You can find it, and it's going to be out there for the masses. So it's exciting times.
And just before I go, it's also been the cards. I will be releasing bleed and non-bleed versions, but Mike, bless him, has provided us with cards that are ready to be printed professionally by places like Make Playing Cards. They are full bleed. You won't have any issues with them because Mike has done exactly what he did for the Ark, and that's spot on bleeds. So they will look as good as the OG Wizards of the Coast cards when you get them done. So spot on. What have you got on your channel coming up? Very briefly, let's wrap this up.
This obviously has just dropped, so this was fun. I've got some other fun stuff, like taking a little bit of a forefront to stuff. Like I've got my next Star Wars Imperial Assault that I'm working on, which I'm super excited about, because I literally forgot that I recorded that game and haven't edited it, so I need to do that. And I love doing those because it's a really cool creative thing. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes because of the Turbo Revving Old Punks. It's like I'm trying to figure out how to stream, how we can do that, how we can have really cool like overlays, how we can have some really cool transitions, how it can be like an interactive kind of stream instead of just like turn up and watch us play and talk trash. We want you guys to be a part of it and talk trash with us, so we can have some loads of fun stuff. So I'm basically picking people's brains and asking people who I know who stream on the regular and do stuff that I want to do full time. So I'm kind of like picking their brain and going, how the heck did you do that?
Nice.
Like, yeah, that's my life at the moment in a nutshell, trying to make sure we got some cool stuff coming down in the pipeline, bro.
Awesome. I've not got much on the moment. I've had a bit of a break because I've been getting this ready for its final, it's the final iteration of the cards and getting it ready to be released. So there's no video coming in this week. We've had some other like family stuff going on as well, sort of family emergency. So there's no content from me, but I've got some big news where the Energon Hustlers is concerned, and that is my good friend that Mattifer saved from quitting the game. My good friend Matt Coles is going to be starting to record some matches with me, so we're going to give Claire a rest.
Nice.
And Matt's going to be bringing some of his nonsense. He is one of my best friends here in Plymouth, and he has got some gnarly decks planned. And yeah, he's not managed to play Transformers, I don't think, for over a year. So because he doesn't have the webcam and all that sort of jazz set up, so he's going to be coming to play some physical games with his Arc Wave 1 cards that he had printed and has never played with. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, Matt will be on the channel soon.
Awesome. That's super, super cool. It's kind of fun. Like he was gonna leave, and then Mattifer clawed him back in with good old
Skybite. He made the flying shark, and Matt was like, yeah, I'm still here.
I'm in. And see, that's what sharks do to you, man. They just grab a hold of you and they never let go, and you just want to be a part of it. So yeah, guys, that was an episode in the books. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you've watched it on YouTube, please leave a like. A like is much appreciated. Comment below. Tell us your thoughts on the cards. Obviously, the link's there. Go download the set, join the group, be a part of the community, because we want to just constantly embrace you guys and constantly just be a part of the Transformers community in a positive and amazing way, as we always are here at One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall. Subscribe to Dave's channel, the Energon Hustlers. The link can be found in the description. Subscribe to this channel, Bleed Up Productions. Man, it's good. The set's done. This is released on release day, so Dave, we could sit back, finish this brandy, sit next to this fire a little bit more. Probably is. I'm not gonna lie, but we could just sit by this fire and just bask in the accomplishment, which so many people have had a hand in, and just look back and go like, holy cow, we've made it. This is sick.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks everyone. Reiterate what Lee just said. You know, please download the set. Enjoy playing with it. I hope you have as much fun as I did making it with the guys. And that's it. It's a goodbye from me, Dave.
And it's a goodbye from me, Lee. Download our set, have fun, and remember, Transformers TCG is definitely not dead. It's very much alive. Take care, have a good one, and we'll see you on the next episode of One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall.
One shall stand, one shall fall.